But the teachers are alive. They're not books. They are the very living essences of nature itself.
What a strange person.
Unbelievably powerful supercomputer that's running our reality, and we don't have a clue as to how to operate it.
So when maybe you or somebody else creates an AGI system, and you get to ask her one question, what would that question be? What's outside the simulation?
Say in your mind, say to yourself, I am more than my physical body, because I am more than physical matter. I can perceive that which is greater than the physical world.
Welcome to Lighting the Volume.
Broadcasting from a shack on a hill in the Mossy Creek bottoms of Cane Creek, Arkansas. We survived another storm, another tornado, weather, whatever the heck hits us every time here in Arkansas, and we're still going. That's right, we made it. 2 nights in darkness, and we're back, and we're live on the Fringe FM. I'm your host, Joe Roop, and thank you for joining us tonight on this wonderful, lovely night, Tuesday, April the 14th on into the 15th. Tonight, our guest, Darryl E Berry Jr. We actually had to reschedule this one last time, and now he's here to tell us all about what he knows, man. He knows some good stuff about this astral travel, and this is what we're going to talk about tonight. I can't wait. We're going to get right into this, but look, I gotta tell you that what happened, just because it was crazy. So Sunday night, I'm just doing my regular work, and all of the power goes out. There's no warning or nothing. There was no warning, anything, just power goes out. Complete darkness. I got one lamp in here in the shack and a few candles, and that's about it. I don't really have anything else. And as I walk outside, I look to the left and I see this just big green, green sky, and it's lightning, and there's this noise that sounds like a train coming. Now, I couldn't tell if it was a tornado or wall cloud, but it looked like a tornado to me. So if you can imagine what thunder sounds like, with metal and kind of weird noises in it, that sound, but it doesn't stop. Thunder kind of crashes and rises and stops. This was just constant. It was getting closer and closer. So I ran into the house and woke everybody up in there, and we got in the middle of the house and just kind of bared down, and I told Corbin, I said, just put something in the Discord chat room or tell somebody something, because we're all going to be, we may be sucked out of here when this is all over with, if anybody's wondering what's going on. And that was about it. So we didn't get too much damage, but there are trees here in the neighborhood that are over 200 years old that are just laying on the ground. I mean, it was insane. And there's still people with power out here. We just got ours back on this evening. So, yeah, that's good. We got lucky, so we're going to do the show tonight. I want to thank our sponsors of the show, AncientLifeOil.com, Metaphorical Archaeology from Barbara Charlton over there at Metaphorical Archaeology, and GetTheTea.com. Big time help. They've helped us out big time. Also, Optics Planet if you want to go get you some night vision goggles as the weather starts getting better, or if you want to get a telescope to look at all this crazy stuff that's going on in the sky so you can look up all those new government satellites in that grid they're putting around us before they block it out with machinery. You can go to thefringe.fm/optics. Big birthday shout out to a couple of my favorite void walkers on the planet. Yesterday, I missed the Reverend Dan Lopez's birthday. Happy birthday, brother. And Amandala in the chat room, too. Happy birthday. Also, head over to ufoseekers.com, backed and supported by the Fringe FM and Lighting the Void. And if you want to keep a journalistic approach to what's going on in that field, they're keeping it down still, just like we are. At UFO Seekers on Twitter and youtube.com/UFO Seekers, where you can catch all their new episodes. If you want to join our show and come to where all the cool people are, you go to thefringe.fm/chat room. That'll get you right into our Discord. And as we move along on the station, we will be, changing the website, changing a lot of things. And I've done some things on my website too. So some of you that are donating can actually get something for your money. So if you go on lightingthevoid.com, there's a couple of Patreon buttons there. There's 7 packages you can choose from. And we're going to be putting exclusive content in there, behind the scenes content. There's going to be live feeds, journals, video journals. You have to read it all. There's going to be some really cool stuff coming for you guys that love this show. So you're going to get something besides just me yapping every night. All right. Go check that out. That's, I think it's patreon.com/LTV radio. I have to put a better link on the website too. All right. Any other announcements other than that? No, we're still quarantined. So keep coming to the chat room so you can see if we're doing anything fun in there. Sometimes we watch shows together and do crazy stuff together in there with that new stream feature. And other than that, I don't think there are any new, other than like Jess Rogies. I think she's going to be on some big time digital, like UFO. It's like a digital conference. I have to get the name of it and I'll tell you. And then, that's it. So let's bring on our guest. Darryl E Berry Jr. is a longtime practitioner, researcher, and observer of all things metaphysical, mystical, and cutting edge, including the out-of-body experience, extraterrestrial life, consciousness development, psychic ability, spirituality, especially A Course in Miracles, and other non-dualistic thought, and fourth density thought. And thank you, man, for being patient with me and finally get to talk to you now. It's good to have you on here, Darryl.
Awesome. Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I just want to know, let's just start from here. What's the difference between your outlook on the out-of-body experience than what you normally hear from people like Robert Monroe or some of the basic stuff that we know about the out-of-body experience? Because I'm on your website, which is, for everybody, it's DarrylEBerryJr.com. And I'm looking at some of your courses, and it looks pretty kind of like scientific in a way. I don't know. You have to explain this to me. The state of acquisition for OBE and psychic functioning. What's that about?
Well, basically my approach is actually pretty close to Robert Monroe. You mentioned Robert Monroe. And he actually found that when we go into altered states and out-of-body experiences, our brain enters what we call lower frequencies of operation. So basically, like right now, we're in the beta state, the waking state. We're talking physically. Our brains are cycling. The electrical activity, if we were hooked up to an EEG machine, might be between 12 and 30 cycles per second. Just closing your eyes and just relaxing a little bit, you start to go into the alpha state. And the alpha state is a lightly relaxed state. Even when you're watching a movie or reading a book, you might go into the alpha state. And when you go a bit farther, you get into the theta state. That's the state that deep meditators get into. That's the state of REM sleep. Your brain is cycling about 4 to 7 cycles per second. If you've ever gone to sleep and you, for instance, let's say you see colors or scenery start to appear in front of your eyes, you were in the theta state. Or when you're dreaming, that starts in the theta state where you start to see visual imagery. And the out-of-body experience happens in the delta state. That's the deepest state of sleep when your brain is cycling between 0 and 4 cycles per second. So basically what state acquisition is simply a very practical way of consciously being able to enter these altered states. And if you consciously enter the delta state, then you're in the out of body experience.
Gotcha.
So a common experience, if you start to be able to get into doing this consciously, let's say I might sit down and I might practice my 4-2 meditation. I start getting into the alpha state, and what I found is every single state has its certain phenomena that's attendant to it, which I call altered state phenomena. And this is not unique to me. Like, you can go into the Monroe Institute, and there's several, there's even people who make, like the Monroe Institute, they make their brain sync technology. There's all different type of people that recognize this and make technology to help.
Oh, yeah.
But you could do meditations to, for instance, practice rhythmic breathing, and then you start getting alpha states. And when I'm in a strong alpha state, what I usually see is a sort of monotone yellowish color circle, but except these circles are closing in on each other. So imagine a dot in the center of your field of vision with your eyes closed, and these this concentric rings of yellow circles closing into each other. Then I might apply a different technique after that. Then I start getting visual imagery, and maybe I'm seeing flashes of color appear, and maybe a face will appear in front of my mental eye.
All right. So what you're talking about is like parallel things that happen at certain states, basically parallels that happen for us to recognize what state we're in. Is that what you mean?
Exactly.
Okay.
And basically state acquisition is basically just consciously accessing these states, acquiring these states, so you can have the type of experience you want to have, or there's psychic ability, or having an out-of-body experience, or what have you.
Well, you do kind of, like, I think Amandala's right in the chat room. You make it sound easy, man. But, but of course you're just talking about it. I've been practicing this stuff for a long time. I've had like one really cool out-of-body experience, and then the others have been kind of in and out, half, couldn't tell if I was dreaming. I've even had instances where I left my body and it was like playing with the mouse on my keyboard, like the mouse and my keyboard and stuff, but I couldn't see. Like, it was pitch dark, and I could still feel my body in the bed too. What's that about, man? What state am I in when that's happening? Do you have any clue?
Well, certainly. Well, basically, I've delineated the experiences into these different categories. So first, there's our regular dream state, and my experience of the dream state and how I describe this dream state is simply like the daydreaming we have in our physical life. So let's say you're waiting for the elevator and you're standing there and it's coming from the top floor, and your mind starts to wander, and then you imagine yourself standing on a beach in Hawaii or something like that. And then the elevator's there and you pop out of it and you get on the elevator. Now, during that moment, you were not in Hawaii. You were still standing there in front of the elevator. But for that period of time, your imagination, it might have been hazy or fuzzy, but you really lost yourself in that imagination for a moment. Well, when you're physically asleep and you have these hallucinations, it becomes like a world around you, but it's still just that same type of daydream hallucination. It's just that when your physical body is asleep, your conscious mind is at bay. Your subconscious mind can make this imagination fill out, and it seems very real, and you even forget about your normal life, and you think this is your life for the time being that you're sleeping. That's just a regular nocturnal dream. Then you can reach a state to where you become conscious in your regular nocturnal dreams. It's still a hallucination. It's still just something you're imagining in your mind. But what happens is you become conscious and aware, hey, this is a dream. And maybe you can fly around and you can walk around and make things change and things like that. But it's still just a hallucination. You can wake up from it and pop up from it, and you're still in your bed. Now, another thing that can happen is you can have an out-of-body experience where your awareness and your consciousness is not very clear. This is very common when you're just getting into it, or if you're not very experienced in it, or if you're not very practiced and you're not developed yourself in basic skills like concentration. It can be very hazy and unclear. So you can be having an out-of-body experience and not realize it and think you're in a dream. So that's one example of what you could have experienced right there. So when you were playing with your mouse and it kind of seemed like it was real, but it wasn't, could have been an out-of-body experience that was hazy, or it could have been a dream that was very vivid.
Well, no, see, here's the thing. Like, I was attempting to do the out-of-body stuff, right? Like, I could feel my body. I could feel myself kind of, the vibration and then come out. But when I walked around from the couch to the computer, I couldn't. It was just dark blackness, no vision whatsoever.
I see. So to make sure I'm understanding properly, you were making an attempt to get out of body.
That's right. Yeah.
You felt vibrations and you felt yourself get out of body?
I felt myself. Yeah. Cause I've been doing this for a while too. So when I know the vibrations happen, I just relax. Right. And then let myself kind of come out, or I've kind of, everybody kind of develops their own way with that.
Right.
And then
that sounds good.
Walked around. Specifically, I could feel everything with my hands, and it's kind of like I was walking in darkness, in pitch black, and you're just feeling around with your hands. And I'm trying to turn on but it was like no vision whatsoever. So, I mean, the part of me that sees wasn't registering or something.
It's very common. I don't know or understand the full reasons why that happens, because sometimes I get out of body and I can't see either. Some of it is simply just just like when you have a physical experience of having sleep in your eye, it could be something like that. One hypothesis or theory I've read, mainly from this guy named Sylvain Muldoon. Basically, he has an experience of a cord that connects us to the physical body. And basically, when you're close to the physical body, this cord is very active. And that's one of the reasons that's put forth of why we can't see when we're close to the physical body, because it sounds like you were in your bedroom and you got up out of your body and you were still in your bedroom at your computer. So you must have been pretty close to your physical body. One thing I try to do if I'm having that experience, I just run. Like I just run in one direction. And usually when I get far enough away from my physical body, I can start to see again. Is that because of the cord range, or is that because of something else? I'm not really sure. But usually what I try to do is just run in one direction and get away, or fly in one direction and get away. And sometimes still that doesn't work. Sometimes I get far away and I still can't see, and I just, may do the best I can. Something else you can do if you're out of body and you can't see, is simply end the experience and then start a new experience. And I know especially if you're just getting into it and you spent the last, weeks trying to get out of body, the last thing you want to do is end it. You want to keep it going as long as you can. But I mean, if it's a situation where your perceptions are not allowing you to have a good experience, it might be good to just end it and just know that it's easier to start an out of body experience from just ending one than starting from scratch again. So one of the techniques I developed when I was a kid, before I even realized what I was doing, I was flying around a lot. And what I realized I can do is, if I come back from an experience, whether it was a lucid dream or what I now know was an out-of-body experience, I could intend myself back to that same locale relatively easily. So I remember I had this one experience where I became aware on this non-physical dimension, like I would just, pop out of body and walk around, and I became aware in this very dark dimension, and these non-physical beings that looked sort of like gray aliens were actually attacking me. They were beating me up. And, by this time I had a lot of experiences, and I battled like what people might call demonic entities.
Yeah.
But they took me by surprise. So I was like, no.
Now, how old were you when this happened?
I guess I had to have been around 10, something like that.
10 years old. Were they punching you or hitting you with stuff, or what were they doing?
They actually had batons they were hitting me with.
Wow.
Yeah, so what I did was they were beating me to the point that I just could not get my bearings. Like one would hit me and knock me in that direction, and before I could straighten myself up, the other one would hit me. So it was like I was a piñata. They were just bouncing me around. Yeah. And something that I call fail-safe kicks in. Like whenever I was frightened to the point that, or just disoriented to the point that I couldn't control it, I would just instantly get pulled back to my body. So that's what happened. I just got pulled back to my body. But I was like, I'm not gonna let it end like this. So I intended myself back to that location, and I surprised them. And let's just say I never saw them again. So, but it was very easy to intend myself back to that location, and I did that several times. So,
we're talking grays. We're talking grays here, right? Like grays, the classical gray alien.
They look like grays, but it was just I've had interaction with grays. And they didn't strike me as particularly as grays, but just remembering their appearance, it reminded me of grays. They were slim and big heads. I would say they were more like gremlins than grays. But if you think about the movie Gremlins, you can kind of see the resemblance to grays, the way their head is shaped and they have big eyes. But I don't think they were really grays. It was just the way they were shaped. It was similar to that. But they seem to me to be just non-physical entities. I mean, there's non-physical entities that's just their pastime. They pick on sleeping humans or humans that are out of body.
Now, how long have you been doing this altogether, Darryl?
Oh, off and on since I was about 4 or 5 years old. So I haven't done the straight things in life, take my attention away or what have you. But I first started doing it when I was 4 or 5, and throughout the years, I might get very motivated and want to explore something, and I start practicing again.
Now, let me ask you, because I want to get into some of these stories and stuff, but let me ask you real quick about your website. And I think I spelled your name wrong. It's just on my flyers, so I apologize. I know it's 2 R's for Darryl, right?
Okay. That's right.
So when you go to your website, I'm looking at all these courses. This looks like a college style courses, man. And a lot of these are free, or you've put them in archive.org. I mean, are these free, or how does this work?
Yeah. All of them are free. Like, I envision a world that's free of government and free of money.
Word.
So what I decided to do was take the best thing that I have that I can give to the world and provide it for free. So my books are online for free that deals with metaphysics. And my courses and classes are free. As far as money, I mean, the cost I would say is participation. Like you had said, talking about it sounds easy, but the fact is a lot of work.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as long as somebody's willing to apply themselves and I'll teach them for free. And it's also part of a research study. So I envision the world at some point, which Robert Monroe saw. He went to the future, saw that at some point in the future, out-of-body travel is going to be a very common thing, and I envision that world in the future, and I want to help bring that about.
Me too, man. That's so cool you say that. That really is cool. Yeah, that is cool. Now, that was in his second book or third book when he talked about that? I think it was the third book.
He went through time in his second and his third book, so I actually confused them myself. But in his second and his third book, one time he went into actually one of them was the past. He went in 40,000 years into the past, and it was a civilization that's similar to the one 3,000 years into the future.
Yeah.
I myself, I can't remember which one is in which book, but yeah. And I know that's probably not every single timeline as well. I mean, I know there's different timelines, but I think in every single one that we reach an advanced level, because the extraterrestrial races, every advanced one I'm aware of, either through personal experience or from reading about it or hearing others' encounters, they're telepathic, they go out of body regularly. I mean, their main mode of contacting us now is through non-physical means. So it seems to me that part and parcel of reaching an advanced state of society is becoming aware of these non-physical states of being and becoming practiced in them and able to maneuver them.
Yeah, I remember him discussing that, like that there were people that they left their bodies asleep under trees,
That's right. And it was able to create a field around their bodies, basically an energetic field so strong that even a virus can penetrate. And apparently they, to them, a body was like a car. They didn't necessarily identify with one particular body. They was able to switch bodies back and forth and jump into an animal's body and experience that animal for a while. And these are things that happen now. Like my friend Lewis, who taught me a lot about out-of-body travel, he has a twin brother, and they actually swap bodies for a little while. So these things are possible, but it has brought it to such a very high level. Like, of course, we have an aura even now, and you can strengthen your aura. We have the ideas of force fields and like Star Trek and stuff, but the fact is we can do all of these things with our minds. Like there's this guy named Gary Renard who was contacted by these ascended masters, and that's one of the things they said, that basically every single piece of technology we have in some way mimics what the mind does, or what the mind can do, or what the mind actually does behind the scenes, but that we mask with this or that technology, but we could just talk telepathically or go out of body and meet instead of having to have a conference call or what have you. And eventually I'm sure we'll get there.
I gotcha. Yeah, that's so cool. We got to take our first break, but I got a ton of questions for you, man. I think that's absolutely amazing, because you got the same vision that I do for like how we should evolve, I think, or at least I believe. as true void walkers, astral explorers. We'll be right back with Darryl E Berry Jr. Stay with us.
Please listen. Now is not the time to fear. When your immune system is strong, shields up. You have very little worries. If your immune system is compromised, you're susceptible to all viruses. I say shields up and no fear. Try Heart Love from GetTheTea.com. Heart Love has a special ingredient called allicin. It comes from the healing part of the garlic plant. No garlic breath. No garlic leaking out your pores, just pure immune-building ingredients that gets your shields up. Heart Love is a unique blend of herbs that loves to build you up. Google garlic and know the benefits. One Heart Love pill is equal to 20 cloves of garlic. 20 cloves. Shields up. You've heard of our Life Change Cleansing Tea at GetTheTea.com. Now try Heart Love. And by the way, take your blood pressure and watch weekly what happens. So here's how to purchase. Log on to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com and build your shields. That's GetTheTea.com. Mention Ray in the coupon code and hit apply and receive free shipping.
I'm JD Lewis, and you'll be listening to me, the host. No, that's wrong, because I'm not a host, I'm a hostess. I'm like a cupcake. Yeah, I get it. I do the show called Real Talk on the Fringe FM. Well, I'll be going live this Wednesday, April 15th, from 7 to 9 Pacific time in the evening. Do you hear that noise in the background? That's my dishwasher. It's like a high hum. It's because I do this stuff out of my apartment. Anyway, I'm going live. Call me. I'm at, what's the number here? 503-575-9980. 503-575-9980. We can talk. After all, it's real talk.
This is Barbara Charlton from Metaphorical Archaeology. If you've ever had a traumatic paranormal experience, the effects of it may stay with you for years. Who do you talk to? You can't go to conventional help. What we do is we use emotional freedom techniques or tapping to actually neutralize the effects of that event. Maybe when you tell the story now, your heart races and your palms get sweaty. You don't even want to think about it because you don't know how to neutralize that. That's what EFT tapping does. It neutralizes those emotions. The circuit that was recorded on is gone. The energy flows freely and you're free of it. And that's what emotional freedom is all about. We offer this as a pro bono service, but this is something that I offer because no one, it seems, is helping people with these experiences. If you'd like to reach me, it's really easy. My cell phone is 214-995-3754. Please leave a message. I will get back to you as quickly as possible. Or you can email me, barb.eft@gmail.com. And EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. Reach out to me. It's confidential. This works. You won't believe the results.
All right, man. This is Crow 777, and you are listening to The Fringe FM.
Right, me old Chiners. I know it's an ad break, but before you lot shoot off and make yourself a cup of Rosie Lee or whatever else it is you're going to sling down your Gregory Peck, you need to listen to me bubble. If, like me, you found your way to light in the void via a downloadable podcast, you might want to take a butcher's at the Fringe FM Wind and Kite. You won't Adam and Eve how many other shows there are or what they rabbit on about. Ancient history, conspiracy, the consciousness, the esoteric, the occult, metaphysics, parapolitical, ufology, technology and spirituality, to name but a few. They got featured hosts like Ryan Gable, Jeremy Scott, Alex Exum, Tim Doyle, Cortana and Gigi, Susanna Ross, the Reverend John Polk, Michael Deacon and J.D. Lewis. You might find yourself listening to the thoughts and theories of the author of The Fish you just finished reading. Or you could pick up the dog and bone, call in and tell everyone your own beliefs or experiences. So do me a favour, before you put on the Ansel or crack open a bottle of vino or roll a joint, go to the Fringe FM and see what you're missing.
From a cave in the depths of your mind, it's is Lighting the Void with Joe Root.
Hey, I'm J.M. DeBoard, and when I want to talk about dreams, I look up my man Joe Root and his show, Lighting the Void.
You're listening to Lighting the Void. The call-in number is 1-800-588-0335. If you would like to text, you can text in at 501-777-5631.
All right, welcome back to Lighting the Void. Tonight we're talking about astral travel and the out-of-body experience with Darryl E Berry Jr. I wanted to mention, too, now that I got the name, thanks to the help of Amandala and y'all in the chat, that Jess Rogie will be at the UFO Lockdown. It's called the UFO Lockdown Festival, so Google that. That is going to be like a pretty cool UFO event, totally online. So our one and only Jess Rogie from the Rogie Report is going to be involved with that. Pretty cool stuff. Darryl's here with us, and you can go to his website at Darryl E Berry Jr., and I'll drop the links there in the chat, too. It's Darryl with 2 R's. And I was asking you during the break, Darryl, how long you've been doing it, and what I really wanted to ask you as far as doing this stuff goes is, when did you have your first experience that you knew that this was like life-changing, real? Like the one experience where you know it's not a dream. You know what I mean?
Okay. I would say the first experience, it's hard to pick one, but I would say the one where I consciously tested it to verify it. It was when my friend Lewis, I was telling you about, he's awesome at out-of-body travel. He's like a million times even better than me. He devoted himself to it like full time almost. And so what I wanted to do was I wanted to test his ability. And also, I wanted to test my ability, and I wanted to test and see if it's real. Like, even apart from all the experiences I had, like this, I must have been around, let's say, 25 or something. But I figured, hey, if you can go out of body, and that person can go out of body, well, you can go out of body and meet and have a conversation, right? So what I did was, at this time, we used to talk every day on the phone about whatever. And I decided not to tell him I was going to do this, but I just decided I would go out of body and I would meet him and see if he can confirm it. And then I wanted to throw some extra things in there to make sure it's not coincidence in any way. So what I thought I would do is first I would make up some crazy word. I don't know. I forgot what word I was going to make up, and I forgot it doing the experience as well. But I made up some crazy word like elephant pickles or something. And then I decided to change the way I look, because when you're in the out-of-body state, you can change how you look. Like there was a period of time when I went out as a female for a while, for instance, or you could change your clothes. If you don't think about it, you just look however you look, or sometimes you're naked, but you can make your clothes look the way you want. So what I did was I thought, let me pick something that I never have worn before in my life that somebody would not likely ever have worn. So I intended to make myself look like I was wearing this big white robe, and that I had this gold band around the center of the robe. So you imagine a long white robe, like, some kind of angelic robe or whatever. And around my chest or abdomen area, this thick gold band like a ring going around my chest or abdomen. So I thought, okay, that'd be good enough. So that night or that evening, whenever I did it, I intended to go out of body and go meet Lewis. And this is actually one of the ones that was kind of hazy. Like I wasn't fully clear, but I appeared in front of him. And he started talking to me. We tried to talk, but I was kind of hazy. And the experience ended after a while, and I got back into my body. And I thought, it was hazy, but in my experience, I knew it was one of those ones I was telling you about where you're not too clear in the experience. So the next day we talked on the phone, and I did not mention it at all. I did not say anything about it. We just talked like normal. Let's say we're talking about sports or whatever. And then Lewis said, hey, I saw you out of body last night. And I said, what? I said, really? I said, tell me about it, because I didn't want to front load with information. I said, well, tell me what happened. And he said, well, you seemed like you were kind of drunk, like you were not fully there. And I was thinking, okay, now I remember I was kind of hazy. I wasn't fully conscious in that one. And he said, and you was wearing this big, stupid white shirt with this gold ring around the middle of it. I was like, really? So that's when I knew. I was like, wow, okay. So I didn't mention it at all. How could he possibly have known that we met out of body that night? that I was wearing this white shirt with this gold band. So I would say that's the experience that I point to, where I say, okay, how do I know that this is real? I mean, that to me confirms it, you know. And even if like there's people who say maybe it's not out of body experience, maybe it's something else, maybe it's
no, you knew then for real. It was real then. Yeah.
Whatever it is, we had an interaction in some state that's not the physical state, and we was able to transfer information, and he was able to perceive what my intentions were. So however anybody wants to classify it, obviously there's something going on there. So that's one of my favorite ones as far as verification.
So your first time that you realized that this was something real is something that we have actually, as the Voidwalker community, have actually been trying to achieve with each other, where we can meet each other. Like we see, we've had moments where we've seen each other in dreams. I've had people like have remote viewed the couch in here, man, but meeting somebody in that state is a big verification to me. I'm not saying that I don't believe in it, because I do, because I've had that one experience I told you about during the break, but that's like a big step. Now, is this something that we can develop too? Like, have you gotten better at this? Do you have people that you travel with? Or are you just kind of like the lone wolf now doing your own thing?
Well, actually, I mean, I've actually been out of practice for a while. It's something that I've done off and on. Like, there was a period of time when I was about between 17, let's say between 15 and 19. That's when I got the best I've ever gotten. And basically, I was out of school for the summer, didn't work. So basically all I did all day was going to alter states and get out of body and stuff. And it got to the point that I didn't lose awareness. Like I was aware 24 hours a day. So I would be awake in the physical body and I would do physical stuff. And then whenever I lay my body down, I would get up and be out of body. And I was literally conscious 24 hours a day. And life became a sort of surreal dream. It was just very odd. It actually stopped because it was just drawing, because it was like it was almost like I was out of body all the time, because it's amazing how real, and I just can't think of a better word, but it's amazing how real the out of body state can be. It could be more real than the physical world, because in other words, like I wear glasses in the physical world. But in an out-of-body state, when I'm in a clear, vivid out-of-body state, I mean, my vision is so acute that it's like I can see atoms. It's like I can see particulates of things. It's just amazing. So, but again, that was just for a short period of time, I brought it to that level. So in my experience, you can go from the point where you just don't remember anything. Like most people, they just go to sleep and they wake up and they do whatever, or to the point to where you're conscious 24 hours a day, and there's all different kind of levels of ability within that range. And in my experience, anybody can do it. Like over the decades, I've taught several people how to do it. Some people who never had an experience before, and some people who had experiences and it was spontaneous, and some people who, had experiences and they just wanted to learn a different way or whatever. And in my experience, it's just a natural part of being a conscious being. Like, I remember several experiences I've had where I've been out of body and I've seen people out of body and they just don't remember it. So I mentioned earlier about the states. The delta state is the out-of-body state. So whenever you hit the delta state, you have an out-of-body experience. And in my experience, this goes for everyone. It's just that most people, we don't develop ourselves to the point where we can be conscious in these altered states, so we just don't remember anything. And sometimes we might be very active in these states, but subconsciously, and we simply don't remember it. One experience comes to mind where this was a period of time when I was practicing, and I got out of body, and I happened to see an ex-girlfriend of mine from a few years before, and we didn't end on bad terms. We just haven't talked in like 2 years or whatever, and but I saw her out of body, so I went to and this was a clear out of body experience. I was like, okay, I'm out of body. This is a non-physical dimension, and I'm seeing my ex-girlfriend there. Let me go talk to her and see what's going on. So I walked over there. And it was 4 people all together. It was my ex-girlfriend, it was another guy, and it was a female and another guy. And one of the guys was very protective of her. He was very, he didn't want me talking to her. So I knew, okay, that must be a boyfriend or something. So I was like, I'm going to cause no trouble. I just flew off and went and did my thing. But the next day I called her up. Yeah. And I said, hey, I saw, and of course, she was my girlfriend, so she knew about what I did. And I said, hey, I saw you out of body last night. And she was like, really? I was like, yeah, you was with this guy who was jealous. I guess he was your boyfriend. And then there was this other female and this other guy.
Really?
And she was like, what? She was like, that's interesting. She said, because I have a new boyfriend now, and I have my best female friend and her boyfriend, and all four of us go everywhere together. This is what she tells me. So in between the time, that we stopped talking, she accrued a boyfriend and a female friend and her boyfriend, and they always go together everywhere. And I happened to see him out of body. So, it's not as strong a proof, but the point of that story is she had no memory of it. When I saw her in the out of body state, I would have thought she was conscious. Like, to me, she seemed conscious. But when she got back in body, she did not remember any of it. Right. But from my experience, it was an out of body experience, just like my experience with Lewis. I wasn't to that degree of not being clear. I was clear enough to be aware. I think I had just started practicing again during that period of time. And I just decided to go ahead and try to get out, and I succeeded. But he was like fully out of body. He was able to tell me, yeah, you seem groggy. You was wearing the shirt. You look like this. And so so my experience every time. So another example is, so when I was a kid, I used to just float out of body spontaneously. I would just go to sleep and sleep as normal. The first time I noticed this happening was I was sleeping like normal, and I used to have a whole lot of flying dreams, but that's another story. And but I felt myself floating, and I thought, I must be having another flying dream again. It was kind of odd because I just felt myself floating, but I was like, okay, I must be having a flying dream. I'm just going to chill out. But then I started to hear this weird sound, whoosh, 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 and I thought, okay, this is different from a flying dream. I'm hearing this whooshing sound, whoosh, 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 whoosh. So I thought, okay, I don't want to be injured or something, so I need to find out what this whooshing sound is. So, let me see what's going on. So I opened my eyes, and could you guess what I saw?
What?
The ceiling was right in front of my face.
No
like the
way.
ceiling was at my nose. Yeah, I opened my eyes, and I'm an inch from the ceiling. So
Was
I'm
that
like,
the ceiling fan that was making that noise?
It was the ceiling fan.
Yeah.
That's
wow.
exactly right. So I'm looking at the ceiling like I'm flush against it. The ceiling fan is going through my body. I look down at the bed. I see my body on the bed. Then I fall back into my body. So in my experience, that happens every night people go to sleep. You might separate just a little bit, or you might float, high up. Another one who, like you mentioned, Robert Bruce, he confirmed that as well. He went out of body and seen several people floating a bit out of their body. And I've read several different accounts of people who went out of body and saw others out of body, sometimes just floating near their body, sometimes actively engaged in things, but they just don't remember it when they get together the next morning. So state acquisition, I would say, is not necessarily a practice of necessarily learning how to acquire the states, because it's a natural part of our being to acquire the states. If you don't go to sleep, eventually you'll die, is my understanding. So you have to acquire these states. It's necessary physiologically and non-physically. State acquisition is really about developing yourself to where you can access these states consciously. So you're acquiring the states. You're actively accessing these states so you can experience these states on a conscious basis and make use of them practically.
So what kinds of stuff do you use? Like, do you use hemisync or binaural beats? Or you said something about that earlier, and I just wanted to, what do you think about that?
I think it's great. I think, I've read a bit about, what is his name? Tom, I can't remember his full name, but he went to the Monroe
Thomas
Institute.
Campbell?
Tom Campbell. There's Rosalind McKnight. There's Bruce Moeen. So obviously it works. I've experimented with it a bit. There's this lady named Kelly Powell, I believe. She has some sort of brain sync out. I experimented with a metronome, a delta metronome that Stuart Wow put out. I experimented with the brainwave generator, and I found that they have an effect. But at a certain point, I decided to stop using it simply because I wanted to not be dependent on technology. So I kind of like the ability to just be able to do it at will because I can do it. Like, for instance, one time when I was doing the higher period of practice, I was able to get out of body at work. which I thought was pretty interesting and pretty, just fun. But I understand that, like for instance, Bruce Wayne, after a while of doing the tapes, he didn't have to use the tapes anymore. I also wonder if, because those tapes entrain your brain to a certain frequency, and you, in my understanding, you access a certain realm according to that. Like he was able to mix different frequencies together to where you're in the out of body state at this dimension. That's where he came up with the focus levels, focus 21, 22. But I wonder, is it possible there must be states of being outside of those 10 frequencies they practice, So for one, I didn't want to limit myself to a certain amount of frequencies. At the same time, I didn't want to limit myself or others to technology, because Hemisync costs a lot of money. Even if you buy the tapes to use at home, right? And I thought about going to. I thought it would be fun to go to the Monroe Institute, but it's like $2,000. I'm like, that's the
gateway experience, like that whole gateway experience. Yeah. It's costly.
Seems like it'd be fun, but I can't afford it. So, right. I wanted to, I guess I could put on a credit card, but not be paying that off for months. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I wanted to do it in a way to where, you could just do it with just you. And that's what state acquisition is about. So, there's no delta metronomes or Hemisync involved. It's just, techniques that I've researched or that I've developed myself, that if you simply apply the techniques, you'll be able to enter these altered states. And to me, it seems more like an accomplishment that almost seems sort of like cheating with the Hemisync. I know really it's not, but I guess
it is, though. It is. Because if you're not energetically ready, I would say, or have a good memory, like what would happen? I have the entire gateway program, like the downloaded version, and it's still like $1,000-something, right? But I would get to the focus 10 part and just lay there awake and vibrating. But for some reason I could get to it just got me to that point. And that's cool. You really get in a relaxed state when you get there, but it never, like I had to take all kinds of different courses and learn things from all kinds of different people to develop a way to do it. And do you think that's how everybody is? Like each person has their own unique thing? Because I would like to think there is something parallel that we all can just, really depend on with this.
Well, yes and no. That's one reason why my approach, I call it state acquisition, because that is the mechanism that's universal. No matter who you are, no matter whether you're male or female, no matter what your beliefs are, no matter what anything is, right now while you're awake, you're in a beta state. If you close your eyes and relax a bit, you'll be in an alpha state. When you start going to sleep and hit REM sleep, you'll be in a theta state. And when you're in deep sleep or in a coma, you'll be in a delta state. Does not matter who you are or whatever, that is simply a fact. And that's why I base it on that. Now, the fact is, as far as the different methods are concerned, I would say that is unique, because different people have different ideas about things, and if you don't think something's going to work and it's an internal thing, it probably won't. Even with physical things, you can tell somebody stop eating whatever and you'll feel better, and they can stop eating it but not really believe it, and maybe they increase eating something else and don't even realize it, and they thwart it themselves because they don't really believe it or want to believe it. So your ideas about it has a lot to do with it. I remember, like, one of my favorite techniques, like when I guess you could say was coming up, and at first when I was a kid, I didn't even realize that it was something. I just thought everybody did it because nobody ever talked about it, and I was just doing it, and I didn't do anything special at the time. It was, it was just happening. So I thought everybody did it. But then when I finally realized, wow, not everybody's doing this, and there's actually books on it, and it's a thing, and I started reading about it. And what I found was there's a whole lot of stuff in books that I found that were inaccurate. Like some of the books said, you can't move at all. Like if you're trying to get out of the body, you got to stay perfectly still, or you're going to mess it up, or you can hurt yourself energetically. I'm like, that ain't true, because I was moving and stuff. So I was like, I'm going to test that. I'm going to just, in spite of it.
Well, yeah. So how are they measuring how you're hurting yourself energetically? How do they measure that?
Well, I mean, I don't look into some of it too much. I mean, some of the books have all these kind of warnings, but it seems to be some kind of, and I guess that was mostly like just a general idea. I don't remember specifically what they said, but I guess one of the specific warnings they gave was you're not supposed to cross your arms, for instance. I don't remember how they say it's going to hurt you, but it's just not good. You're not supposed to wear jewelry. It's just not good. So all the things that I read that they said you couldn't do, I just started doing it because I'm like, let's see, right? Some of them were right, by the way, but most of them were wrong. So this one thing I did was they said, oh, you can't move, you're going to mess it up. So what I did was I purposely moved. So and that's how I developed my signature technique called the relaxed move technique. So what I did was I laid it down and I relaxed very deeply. And then after about a few minutes, I moved into a different position. Let's say I started on my back and I relaxed. And then I turned to my side and then I relaxed for a few minutes. Then I turned to my other side and I relaxed for a few minutes. At first, this was very aggravating, let me tell you. But I kept doing it. And let's say after about a week or two, one time I relaxed, and moved. And then I relaxed and I moved. And I relaxed and I moved. And then one time I went to move and I couldn't move. And when the paralysis stage hits you, even after you have some experience with it, it can be very disconcerting. So I went to move. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't move. I'm like, hold up. Did I have a stroke? What's going on? So I'm struggling to move. And then I finally moved. Then I realized, oh my gosh, I was in a paralysis state. It worked. So then, after a few more times, I relaxed and moved. And then when I got to the paralysis state, I just got up and got out of body. So that was one of the things that they said couldn't work. Now, I say that to say, one of the radio shows I went on, the guy asked me, hey, tell me your favorite technique. And I told him about that technique. And he was like, I don't see how that can work. That can't possibly work.
Yeah.
I didn't argue with him, but I'm pretty sure that's not going to work for him. You know what I'm saying? Because if I tell him, relax and move and just keep doing it, he's like, how in the world? You can't move. How am I going to move in it? So there is a certain amount of your personal characteristics and beliefs and ideas that will determine what may or may not work for you. But in the end, it's just a matter of allowing yourself or actively getting into a deep altered state, but remaining conscious.
Wow. See, that's good that you keep it real like that too. It really is. Because that's what we need, man. If we can simplify this and keep it real, the more real, the better. Because there's so much stuff out there. There's a lot of info. And don't get me wrong, some of it's really good. But it gets confusing, and I'm looking at your courses on your website. Now, I think this is something that we're going to do because our Patreon is going to have an astral travel video like journal where we're going to practice stuff that we've learned from all these courses like Robert Bruce and Robert Monroe, and then just kind of give it to the listeners and let them know what's working for us and what's not. And I think it's really cool that you're on the show now because it's perfect timing. I mean, because we're just launching this right now,
Sounds good. The more the merrier.
And you really do see a world where, like I've envisioned, where people are actually just conscious explorers. And people, when I say that, I say people like, man, that's really woo-woo, but to some people. But to me, like when we learn how to do that kind of stuff, then all of this junk that we're dealing with now, we'll be able to fix on a conscious level, right? You know what I mean? We'll be able to fix a lot of things once we learn our true potential, don't you think?
Well, I kind of see that a bit differently because, in other words, let's look at the state of the world, right?
Yeah, maybe we're too far gone.
The world is like crazy. Huh? What'd you say?
Maybe we're too far gone already, huh?
Well, no, it's not that. It's simply that the world is what we make it. Like, for instance, I used to be one of the people who was always complaining about government and complaining about the 1%, and they have this monetary system and they manipulating ownership of everything, and you have the government that's oppressive and they talk about freedom but they always against freedom and so on and so forth. But then I realized there's 1% of them and it's 99% of everybody else. So I realized that the 99%. This was really the cause of the way the world is. Because if we didn't want it to be this way, we could just say, hey, you small 1% of the people, we're not going to use your money anymore. I mean, similar to what I did, right? So if everybody provided their services for free and everybody worked with each other without involving any money or any government, the whole Illuminati would be over in a day. They would be over, because their whole power is us channeling our efforts and energy and into their system and empowering them, because they make the money. So of course now they control everything. So it's not a situation of, if everybody learns how to out-of-body travel, the world will change. It's simply that when we decide to change the world, learning how to be aware of non-physical states is simply a part of that, because all the advanced beings in the universe that I'm aware of do that. So what ends up happening is, like, my courses are not about changing the world per se. It might seem that way,
yeah,
but really it's a reflection of the change in me.
Nice.
And what's going to happen is all the people in the world who decide to change, maybe they'll take a course like mine, or maybe they'll study themselves and develop, or maybe they'll take somebody else's courses, or maybe they'll use HemerSync, whatever they decide to do, and we'll all meet up on this alternate earth where all of us are choosing to be sane human beings, basically. So, so it's like that. So really, the change to being aware of non-physical states in different dimensions and having a peaceful mind frame, it'll be the effect of our choice of just being sane, mature human beings, because it's quite immature to sit there and complain about what 1% of the population are doing. I mean, that's just quite immature, and we deserve the world we have, as long as we keep on putting our energy and putting our resources and our into the system of these people who basically want to enslave us, and it's just craziness. So, one way or another, I'm going to end up in the world like that. So,
I like it.
So it could be that a whole bunch of people decide to meet me on the earth like that. Or it could be I'm going to incarnate on a different planet. Or it could be that, one of these times when I get on an extraterrestrial craft, they're going to just take me and not bring me back. But one way or another, I'm going to experience it. So you kind of look at it as an invitation, one invitation, but there's many invitations, and you can make your own invitation as well. So
right on, man. I want to go too. I think some of us in the chat want to go with you, right? Let's all meet up at this place. You can call in too at any point in time, 1-800-588-0335. Darryl E Berry Jr. is our guest tonight, and we're talking about the out-of-body experience on a different kind of level here. We'll be right back. More Lighting the Void coming up. Stay with us.
The Fringe FM.
Are you intrigued by paranormal talk radio? You'll love the new paranormal radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app. Free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
I'm Clyde Lewis. You are listening to The Fringe FM.
Hey, this is No Way Jose, a Northern California Piscean stuck in the Arizona desert. I'm a void walker, and I got the shoes to prove it. So what do I do when my soul yearns to delve deep into the realm of the unknown? I aim my satellite straight into the night sky and catch a smooth ride on the KTLK-DB radio waves. I tune into Lighting the Void with Joe Root on the Fringe FM.
Joe, Lighting the Void is the best show on the planet. This is Barney, your friend from Facebook. Thank you and all the crew for all you do. Namaste, my friend.
This is Macon from the foothills of North Carolina, and I am a void walker.
G'day, void walkers. This is Lily from down under Australia. The world may be small, but the enigma is greater. So let your curiosity take you for a journey with Joe Root.
Hey, this is V, coming in from Central Maryland, and I am a void walker.
This is Kevin Doherty, a beginner void walker. I'm from Vancouver, BC. I know a little about a lot, and as Leonard Skinner said, I guess the rest. I learned a lot from Mr. Root and the show. And Heard it from the beginning. I knew right then he was going to be a new Art Bell. Thanks for all your shows and keep it up.
Hey, this is Derek from Mass, a.k.a. the Night Stalker, and I'm a Void Walker.
This is Mark from Chicago, and I walk the void to ascertain what is consciousness.
My name is Jared Johnson, and I'm from Humboldt County, California. I do not know all the answers to the questions about reality. I do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I seek that which has been made hidden as a part of a family of explorers of consciousness. I'm a Void Walker. Thanks, Joe Root.
Hey, is that a new music app?
Yeah, check it out. Surfer Music Discovery. It links to thousands of online stations, but the twist is you see the song names and artists that are now playing live.
That's different. No guessing. Looks like a waterfall of music.
So many formats. Rock, oldies, country, R&B, jazz, and a whole lot more.
How's that spelled?
Surfer. S-U-R-F-R.
Is it expensive?
It's free. No need to sign up or sign in.
Get the Surfer Music app free from Google Play or the App Store.
Have you ever seen an ad or banner which brought you a feeling that someone is reading your mind or even listening to your conversations? Your online data is being used against you. Surfshark is a VPN service that makes online privacy protection easy and attainable. You can use it on as many devices as you'd like simultaneously. Surfshark encrypts all internet traffic sent to and from your devices and ensures that your IP address remains hidden. The VPN service that we use at UFO Seekers, plus 1 month free for $1.99 a month. Visit surfshark.deals/seekers.
We all have that story to tell in our lives. The winds were howling. The ground shook. You could hear rushing water. And then, history repeats itself. When there's no power, refrigeration fails. Stores with their shelves strip bare. ATMs can't operate. Deliveries stop. Then what? These events can last days or weeks. You need a plan. In statements made during recent interviews, FEMA Administrator Brock Long has repeatedly urged all Americans to understand 3 truths. FEMA is broke. The system is broken. If this is the new normal, Americans can't rely on federal cavalry when disaster strikes. Don't get caught out in the elements empty-handed. Prepare with us by going to preparewiththefringe.com and get your 2-week food supply. 92 servings, 8 food varieties with 25-year shelf life. Normally $137, now only $75. Or get a month's supply, normally $247, now only $147, shipped in 1 business day. Just go to preparewiththefringe.com or call 888-440-7931. That's 888-440-7931. Get this great offer and be prepared while it lasts.
Hey, Fringe listeners, this is Dave Cruz, host of Beyond the Strange Radio, asking you to join us live Sunday evenings at 7 p.m. Pacific Time, 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Fringe FM. Visit beyondthestrange.com for links to chat, social media, and schedules of the show. And remember, always stay strange. Hasta.
Abnormal News, I'm Brad Bernards. There's been a lot of talk in recent days on social media regarding the approach of a new comet that could possibly evolve into a spectacular sight in the coming weeks ahead. According to Space.com, the comet has been christened ATLAS, which is an acronym for Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System, a robotic astronomical survey and early warning system based in Hawaii. But besides finding asteroids, ATLAS has also found more than a half-dozen comets. The one that everyone is currently interested in is classified as C2019Y4. When first sighted on December 28th, the comet was an exceedingly faint object, but in the days and weeks that followed, it brightened at an incredibly rapid pace. Then, for all intents and purposes, Comet Atlas hit a wall on March 17th. Ever since that time, the comet's incredible rise in brightness has dramatically slowed. As of April 1st, many have had difficulty in seeing it because its head, or coma, is so large, roughly 1/3 the apparent size of the moon. Consequently, the comet's brightness is spread out over a large area, giving it a ghostly appearance. NASA just gave out a new round of grants, one of which is a plan to fit a 1-kilometer radio telescope inside a crater on the far side of the moon, according to ScienceAlert.com. The Lunar Crater Radio Telescope, or LCRT, would be able to measure wavelengths and frequencies that can't be detected from Earth. Should the plans for the LCRT become a reality, and the new grant money could get it closer to that, it would be the largest filled aperture radio telescope in the solar system. This is still at the very early stage of planning, and it's not clear yet exactly which crater would be used for the job. Connect with the news at parabnormalradio.com. I'm Brad Bernards, Parabnormal News.
Somewhere between abnormal and paranormal, there's a show called Into the Paranormal. I'm Jeremy Scott. Hear me live Saturdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern on the Fringe FM.
To call Joe, pick up the phone, dial 1-800-588-0335, toll free from the United States or Canada. You're listening to Lighting the Void Radio.
That's right. You are listening to Lighting the Void Radio. And I'm your host, Joe Roop, and we are live on the Fringe FM. Don't forget, after the show, The Secret Teachings with Ryan Gable will be on. And new stuff coming for the Fringe FM. A few new shows coming down the road, new website. A lot of cool stuff happening. Go check out the Patreon. We're going to be starting to put our video journals in there, astral travel video journals. There's a lot of cool stuff. We're going to have a specific chat room for questions, and there's really a lot of cool stuff in there. I'll have to show you, if you guys go to, I think it's patreon.com/LTV radio, you can see now that you can support. All of you that have supported the show, you're going to get something for it. And I'm going to make a few people that have really helped me and really close friends of the show a part of it too. So, and we're going to be doing some of the stuff like what we're talking about with our guest tonight. Darryl E Berry Jr. is here with us, and we're talking about his courses in astral travel and his experience with this and spirituality and some of the stuff that he's ran into with all this. And all of his courses on his website are free, which I think is fantastic. But I see how you've labeled these courses too, Darryl. You say, like, this is a prerequisite. This is a prerequisite. So you really want people to learn this, people that are dedicated, right?
Oh, yeah. Because, I mean, I've you know, the structure of the course now is based upon my experience teaching people. And one of the things I found is very few people are really willing to apply themselves because it is some work. So rather than, let's say, taking it, because the course used to be just all one course. But now, instead of, because for instance, if a person, like one example is a guy who he didn't really apply himself to the basics. He didn't really apply himself to concentration and meditation and developing his basic skills. He said he was doing it, and I had a forum where you say, I did this exercise and I did this exercise. Well, he was saying he did the exercises, but he wasn't really doing it. So what happened is when we got to the part of the course where it's time to start working to get off the states, I noticed he was not, you know, because I've done it enough, I've taught it enough to where I know what you should be experiencing. If I tell you, okay, this technique worked for you and you've done these many exercises, so if you do this, you will experience that. And if you're not experiencing that, I know, okay, something is up. So I say, hey, you know, you've been doing this for this many weeks. You should be having this type of experience, but I notice you're not. Like, let me know what's going on. And he was like, well, I wasn't really doing the meditation. I was just sitting thinking about other stuff. And, you know, so to me, that kind of like wasted a few weeks of my time, because you could have just said, I don't really feel like doing it. And I could have just taught somebody else or went watch the movie or something, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So now I'll just have the basics on its own. So if somebody knows I don't want to spend time doing practicing concentration and meditation for a month, you can go do your thing. And I could I could find other stuff to do. Right. But if somebody wants to join and they're willing to apply themselves, then they could apply themselves. And I know that they will have the foundation necessary. So when we move to starting to hit all the states or starting to have lucid dreams, I know you will have the foundation. So it's a skill like any other skill. It's like how, you know, if you ask me to hop on the tennis court right now and play like a professional tennis player, that's not going to be a good situation. I'm probably going to pull something into myself. I'm not going to be able to hit the ball right. It's going to be crazy. I'm going to have to spend like a few weeks building up my muscles. Then I'm going to have to spend like a few years learning how to hit the ball right. I mean, and just like any other skill, it takes time and effort to build up. If you want to do it properly. Like golf. Just like anything. Just like any skill. Now, I don't want to make that into, like we were talking about, removing unnecessary things. The fact is, it is possible for somebody to just dedicate themselves to trying to get out of body, and they can succeed. But if I'm talking about teaching a group of people, the most effective way I found to be certain, if I want to teach you a way, well, I'm certain, whoever you are, you're going to get out of body. If you do this, I'm certain. Then that's the method to first build up your basics, then start doing these exercises, and that's why it's built that way. So I built it in a way to where whoever joins, if they apply themselves, they will succeed. And again, some people, it might be longer than you really need if we're just one-on-one, and I say, you know what, just do this. And some people, you might need more time on the basics, and you can just practice on your own a bit longer. But generally for a general population, that works best.
Man, I got to tell you, your attitude about this really compares with mine too. I think persistence is key, right? But I can tell you where I lack, probably where you're good at, is I get like ADD about this stuff, because I get to taking in all this information, and and some of this stuff is really about slowing down and doing the methods, right? I mean, that's what it's all about, is like slowing down, learning to relax, and do the methods. That's my biggest thing, because I've always got so much work and stuff going on, and so there's a whole lot of distractions out there. But still,
exactly
to have
right.
somebody say, "Well, that's just an excuse. If you really wanted to do it, then you would do it." That's what we need. I mean, we need more of that, because there's a lot of skeptics out there, but there's also some of these skeptics that have contacted me that really want to believe in this. Darryl, they want, like, I was there too. Like, this sounds so amazing. If this was real, it would change my life, and it would change my look on everything, science, consciousness, if it was real. But to slow down and do it, is another thing.
That's right. Hey, I mean, it's one of those things where, so I think my progression was a little bit odd, because when I first started having out-of-body experiences, it was spontaneous. And then when I started doing techniques to get out of body, I didn't even know I was doing techniques. It was just natural for me. So I really think that my progress started as a continuation of something I did in another life. But still, when I stopped practicing for a while, it is hard to get into it. So I think that for the average person, if you're not even sure it's real, it might be a big ask, to devote all that time and energy to do it. And I do understand. But the fact still remains that unless you do, for the average person, again, some people, they could just jump into it naturally, but the average person, unless you're willing to devote that time and effort, it's not going to happen for you. And you're exactly right. I mean, I know from my own life, I know from people who, because again, I've been off and on for a reason, because like I said, other things take my attention away, whether it be work or whether it be a relationship or whether it be this TV series I really like. It takes my attention away, and if you don't practice, then you're not going to have the experience. So it does take the willingness to see it as more important than those things. I mean, in my experience, we all have enough time, unless you're like working in 3 jobs, and but I mean, if you have enough time to watch a TV show, or if you have enough time to watch a movie, or if you have enough time to play a video game, or whatever it is, and I'm not saying anything is wrong with any of those things. I still do those things, but I'm just saying, if you have enough time to do those things, and you feel you don't have enough time to meditate or practice concentration or apply yourself to getting out of body, then it's simply that you don't want to get out of body. One of the people I was teaching, he's a good guy. I like him. We haven't talked in a while, but I consider us still friends. But he took my class, and he actually took my class 3 times altogether. First, he took it like years and years ago. I guess I don't remember. Maybe 2012, I think it was. That's when I first started building the first course off of a research study. I said, well, look, it's my first time teaching a group of people, so I'm not really sure how it's going to go. So it's a research study, but if you want to join, I'll teach you and I'll help get the course together, right? And so he joined. And he applied himself, and he got to the point where he had like 2 lucid dreams and like a partial out-of-body experience. And then he stopped practicing for a while. He started up again like about a few years later. That's when I actually had the course going. And but this time he wasn't really applying himself. He got to the point where he started to have altered states, but then he started to have tension and discomfort in his legs. And I know from experience, like if I don't exercise a lot, I have a sedentary job, it affects my blood flow. And then I go to relax, my heartbeat slows down, my respiration slows down, and I start feeling discomfort in those parts of my body where the blood flow is not so good. So it's an easy fix. I start exercising 2 times a week, 3 times a week, get my heart pumping, my heart is stronger. I lay down and relax, my heart is pumping blood faster. I don't feel that discomfort anymore. So I told him, hey, this is all you have to do. Just go ahead and exercise. I'll give you some exercises to do. Do those exercises 2-3 times a week. You will knock that out. But he was having so much discomfort that he couldn't even practice. His legs was too uncomfortable. So I said, here, just do these exercises to knock that out for you. So I talked to him like a few weeks later, and he contacted me. He said, hey, Darryl, I'm having this discomfort. Tell me what to do about it. And I said, well, why aren't you practicing what I taught you already? And he said, well, I have a roommate, and, you know, I don't want to exercise around my roommate. He mentioned something like that before. I said, hey, all you got to do is when you go to school, just get off the bus early. Just get off the bus 3 blocks early and drive to school. I mean, there's all kind of ways you can fit it in. But I realized he just didn't want to do it. So there are other things you can do. Like, for instance, if you don't want to exercise, but you have a discomfort because of blood flow, you have that same discomfort whenever you go to sleep. Again, we always go through these states when we go to sleep. But what happens is when you normally go to sleep, you don't have any training, you lose awareness before you start feeling these things. You may wake up and your leg is asleep, or you may wake up and your hand is numb because of the blood flow. We already experienced that before. But you lose awareness before you feel it when you're going into altered states. But if you start to do these techniques and practices, you start to maintain consciousness when you start to go into these altered states. So that discomfort, now you feel it. That tingling, like the vibrations you felt, now you feel it. So he was feeling that discomfort. So I said, oh, look, another thing you can do, if you double your practice of concentration, double your practice of relaxation, that'll knock out as well. You'll be able to focus so strongly, because I focus through discomfort as well. I told you about that time, one of the times I got out of body at work. I worked at this coffee plant where I helped the machines. It was a coffee processing plant.
Yeah.
And we had a locker room for our breaks. Well, it wasn't really for breaks, but it was a locker room. And it was a metal bench. So, and it was a small metal bench. So you imagine I'm laying on this metal bench.
You took a cat nap
against lockers. Huh?
You took a cat nap on your lunch break, huh?
Yeah, but I mean, it was discomfort. It was uncomfortable though. You know, like it was a small bench. My left shoulder was squished against the locker. My right foot, the bench couldn't even hold both my legs, so my right foot was hanging off the bench on the floor. But I still managed to get out of the body because I mastered my concentration and my relaxation to that point. So I told him, this practice of concentration, practice of relaxation, you can still succeed without practice and exercise. But I didn't think he would do it. And sure enough, when I contacted him, like 3 weeks later, hey, how's it going? No, I stopped doing it. So that just tells me he just didn't want to do it. So, and that's my experience with most people. They just don't want to do it. So even with me, what usually pushed me to really practice is there was something I wanted to accomplish. Like my grandmother died, and I wanted to go see her out of body after she died, so I went and saw her. Or I wanted to verify if extraterrestrials are real, so I practiced, and I was able to meet extraterrestrials. Or you know, so usually it was something that really motivated me. So I would say if you have problems practicing, try to find what goal you have that might motivate you, and that might help push you a bit.
Well, I wanted to talk to you about some of the stuff that you've seen. Now, when you say extraterrestrials, it makes me think a few things. It makes me think some of the stories I've heard with out-of-body experiences. There's a lot of stories about guides or helpers and things like that. Although, you know, I don't want to spoil anything, but, you know, Robert Monroe found out later a lot of these people that were showing up were just him showing up in alternative places to help him. But there were these types of beings that seem to help him along. Have you experienced that yourself?
Oh yeah, I've experienced all different kind of helper beings, from extraterrestrial beings to beings that I'm not sure extraterrestrials, but kind of. When I was a kid, I used to become aware. I was in a non-physical state still, but I used to become aware of these 3 beings standing next to my bed in a semicircle, and they would pour information directly into my mind. And that happened for a good amount of time. I don't know who or what they were. I just know that they visited me and gave me a whole lot of information. And there was a period of time when I met this gray alien. It was a period of time when I was practicing a lot, and he started to appear in my hypnagogic imagery. So basically, when you hit the theta state, when you for going from waking to an altered state, and you hit the theta state, and you start to see things in your mind's eye, they call it hypnagogic imagery. And some of the things you see in your hypnagogic imagery, you think you're just imagining it, but it's actually real beings that are there. So what he used to do is he used to appear in my hypnagogic imagery, and he would have this hood on. I'm not sure. Did I update that image to the site? Looks like there's not one I updated on that page. But
interesting.
Yeah, hooded figure with a purple robe, but he was covered up to where I couldn't see his face, I couldn't see his hands, I couldn't see any of his features, just this purple robe with his features shrouded in darkness. And he showed me this alien writing. I remember one time he showed me this parchment that had this alien writing on it. And eventually I got to the point to where I started to go out about it to see him. And then eventually he showed me that he was a tall alien gray with ridges on his head. And he told me that he was a father of mine in a previous lifetime. And he taught me a lot for a while. He guided me. He saved my life a few times by warning me of things. So he was my guide for a while. And so yeah, and then there's extraterrestrials that I guess I can't necessarily call them a guide, but I guess I don't really know what to say about them. Like when I first, I guess you can say, started to realize that, hey, when I was a kid, I was seeing grays, right? And it's like, okay, that was extraterrestrials. And I thought, I wonder if I can see them again if I really wanted to. And every time I really wanted to see extraterrestrials, and I put my mind to it, and I meditated and practiced and started reaching out to them telepathically, every time this certain particular type of craft would show up. If you scroll down on the courses page, you'll see where it says making ET contact. Now, that's not a picture that I took. I don't even know it was a real picture, but I could just let you know that that looks very similar to the craft I saw the time that I actually saw it come out the cloud. So I suspect there might be some kind of things that's been guiding me, or that I have some kind of connection to. But every single time I've seen, I guess it's been like 4 times altogether now. Only one time they've actually come out the clouds and I physically saw the craft. But every single time it seemed to be that same type of craft. So in my experience, in my research, everybody has guides. Like apparently there's organizations of guides, organizations of beings that's just what they do. That's what they decided to do, or is even part of their own development to help others, because you can learn a lot by teaching. It's like me. These courses are courses, but they're also research studies. I learn how to better teach people, and I learn, this is another thing somebody experienced, or whatever the case is. So they learn as well. So talking about Robert Monroe, he is you are correct when he said in his books, like for instance, the inspect, he was meeting a lot. Even that same one that blocked those rays that came from whatever source he found, that was actually him. But he also found other beings as well, like those beings he met in the future and beings he met in the past. And it was a group of intelligent species. It wasn't just one. So it was him and it was other ones together. So in my experience, there are separate, distinct, conscious entities that help us and guide us that we can interact with in various ways.
Wow, that's so cool. Yeah, so the hooded figures, a lot of people have seen. I've seen one. Read about them. But what's up with the hood? Is that just in our mind, do you think? Like, is that how we see them? Or are they really wearing hoods? I wonder about that stuff. I don't know why. Like the little stuff.
In my experience, they're wearing hoods. Because remember my experience with Lewis. I intended myself to be wearing a long white robe with a gold band around it, and he saw a long white, he called it a big stupid shirt, but it was big, it was white, it looked like a shirt, it went down to my ankles, and it had a gold band around it. So what do you call it? Just some kind of telepathic suggestion, or whether it's really some kind of non-physical shirt that materialized, people will see it, and for all intents and purposes, it's there. So the understanding I got from him was he didn't want to frighten me. Because he was this tall, lanky gray with ridges on his head, and he just didn't want to startle me. by disappearing like that. And that's what I grasp from beings that appear like that initially. They don't want to start you with their appearance. I mean, you could be startled, man. I remember one time, this was another period of time when I was practicing a lot, and I was doing some experiments with this other author on out-of-body travel stuff, and we were working on meeting, and at the same time I was working on meeting some different kind of extraterrestrials, and I was in my altered state, and I'm laying there on the floor in a state, and I'm seeing these images flying up in myself, and I said, I want to see an extraterrestrial being if there's one around, and I kid you not, this being just came up and just put his face right in front of my face. And it freaked me the hell out.
Yeah, man.
It wasn't human. And he didn't look very much not human, but it was enough to where, okay, I need to be careful when I do that, because there are beings around and they will respond. And
they'll get right in your face, right? That's happened to me. So, it's freaky. I've told the story a million times. I'll tell you during break, but yeah, what did you do when that happened though?
I was like, okay, bye. I was like, thank you.
Yeah, right.
I was like, okay, I saw you. Thanks. And he just went away. I mean, they don't want to frighten you, but I was a bit nervous, and I was like, okay, I just wanted to know if I could see somebody. Another thing happened. I don't know if you ever saw this movie called AI that I believe Spielberg put together, and I don't know exactly why, but that movie impacted me so much. I mean, I was in tears at the end of that movie. And after I finished watching it, I was in such an emotional state. I thought, I just want to see, I want to meet some higher level being. I want to meet some higher being to know that there's a purpose, and just and I sat there in meditation. I just started, demanding, I want to see some higher level being.
Yeah, sure.
And my intent and my desire was just building and building to the point where I thought, you know what, I'm not going to move from this spot until a being come visits me. And I was serious. Afterwards, I couldn't believe how serious it was. But I was like, I'm going to die of starvation. I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to die of starvation, but I'm not going to move from this spot. And right then, a being walked through the wall. Really? And it freaked me the hell out.
Oh man.
It was I just cannot describe how palpable it was. It was like whatever being this was, it had an energy field that felt like, it was just amazing. And it just walked through the wall and started coming to me. And the first thing that happened was I was like, oh my gosh, it's really happening. That was like my first thought. I mean, I was 100% sincere. I guess there must have been some part of my subconscious that didn't
you got somebody's attention, that's for sure. Yeah.
Sure, man. And he would just come in, hear it or whatever was coming to me, and I was like, and I guess it must have sensed my fear, because it was just like almost panic mode. I'm like, I can't believe there's a being walking towards me, and I kind of wanted to see it, but I didn't, and I kept my eyes closed. It was just a strange situation, and then it stopped and it left and it walked back through the wall. But
wow,
so I imagine. I've seen some strange beings, man.
When I
say strange,
we got to take a break here, Darryl. I do want to talk a little bit more about that, because right when it's getting good too. Yeah, that's cool. That is cool. Determined, sometimes a little determination, bound and determined to get somewhere when you're doing this stuff, traveling through the void. We'll be right back. Darryl E Berry Jr.
Hi, this is David Oman with HouseAtTheEndOfTheDrive.com. You're listening to KTLK, the Fringe FM.
This is Rev Dan Lopez from Spiritual Warrior Today Radio, and you're listening to KTLK, the Fringe FM.
getting older and noticing that my body just doesn't work as well as it used to, so I like to keep fit as possible by hitting the gym a few times a week. Recently, I started having a nagging bicep pain, and it got so bad I couldn't even lift the weights. When I was complaining about it to a friend, he told me about angioprim. He said chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in veins and arteries that may cause blockages. You know, after just 1 week of taking angioprim, the pain was gone, and now I'm back in the gym full strength. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. So to learn more, go to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com, or talk to a trained consultant. Call Angioprim toll-free at 945-882-7221. You'll feel better with more energy. That's 945-882-7221. Or go to the website, angioprim.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Do you want to know the truth? Are UFOs real? Are aliens visiting Earth? Are governments around the world hiding the biggest secret in history? We're UFO Seekers, official partner of the Fringe FM, and we're on a hunt for the truth. Join us as we investigate locations like Area 51 by subscribing on YouTube at youtube.com/UFO Seekers.
Hi, this is Kronox from Belgium, and you're listening to Lighting the Void with Joe Roop.
Hey, Fringe FM listeners. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or no Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of the Fringe FM by calling 701-719-3971. No smartphone app or internet needed. Saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Call 701-719-3971. That's 701-719-3971. Listen to the Fringe FM on any phone, anytime, anywhere.
Alex Exum.
This is Alex Exum of the Exum Experience in Live Talk, where we discuss current events, society, and culture. My shows are based in actuality, actual existence, contrasted with what was intended, expected, or believed. You can listen to me live Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays at 7 p.m. only on KTLK, The Fringe FM.
When you're in the house for longer periods of time, you can see them flying or running across the floor. Ooh, yuck. They're unhealthy, gross, and disgusting. Bugs. I loathe bugs. We keep a clean home, but occasionally bugs show up. Well, I found something that is tougher than bugs. Orange Guard. On contact, it kills hidden bugs, including ants, roaches, and fleas. Plus, Orange Guard is a residual repellent. All of the ingredients of Orange Guard are on the FDA generally recognized as safe list. Orange Guard may be used around food, humans, and pets. It comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Orange Guard. Available at orangeguard.com, Whole Foods, and Ace Hardware.
You're listening to Lighting the Void. The call-in number is 1-800-588-0335. If you would like to text, you can text in at 501-777-5631.
All right, welcome back to Lighting the Void. I was just talking to Darryl, our guest tonight, about some of the stuff that I'd been through with these out-of-body experiences that I've told on the show over and over again. Some interesting perspectives that you talk about how to travel, like some of the ways to travel. Now, I wanted to ask you about this because there's two ideas about this. The out-of-body experience as to where you peel yourself out of the body, where you feel the vibrations and you come out and you're in a local, kind of, I guess, like a local place. Or sometimes you just, and this is something William Buellman teaches, and I'm curious what you think. Sometimes you imagine yourself out of body, and then all of a sudden you're there. You just kind of pop out of body. Now, I can tell you that the peeling methods have made me realize, like, more vividly and more lucidly, but the popping out of body and just being somewhere else, that's always seemed like a dream to me. It's hard to explain. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, in my experience, like, what I did was when I started reading about the out of body experience, and I noticed that different people have different methods, and I wondered the same thing, like, does a different method cause a different experience? Like, if I get out of body with this method, is it really substantially a different experience than getting out of body with that method? So what I decided to do was I would read somebody's book or take somebody's course or whatever, and I would dedicate myself to that method and get out of body with that method and compare it. And, so I've gotten out of body with Robert Bruce's methods, and I've gotten out of body with this group called the Mystic Web Method, and I've gotten out of body with one of, what's his name again? Sylvan Muldoon's methods, and I got out of body with Dennings and Phillips's methods, and I got out of body with several different methods, and in my experience is all the same experience. Okay. So I just kind of just lump them all together. But the fact is, different methods may be more inclined to get you in certain areas because they're all different frequencies. So, for instance, if you're visualizing a lot, that activates your third eye a lot. Depending on your level of visualization, you might increase your vibrations a bit more. So you may pop out at a higher frequency. But from that frequency, you can still go back to your room and have the same experience like you're in your room, just like you peeled out. At the same time, you can peel out your body and increase your frequency and end up in the place that you are when you just appear there. So in my experience, it's ultimately all the same experience, but there are different realms. And also, depending on your bend of consciousness, maybe when you visualize, you're more clear. And the fact is, a lot of the perception we have of the experience has to do with the clarity of our perception. Like you mentioned that experience earlier where you couldn't see. So you probably was not very focused, very clear. It could have been that you had to increase your consciousness a bit. Maybe if you ran away, you could have got your vision, but maybe even if you ran farther away, you might not have. So maybe in that same level of awareness, if you had just visualized somewhere and popped out, you still would have been blind. So I've been blind in the physical world. Basically, I've been blind in the non-physical world. So in the end, it's really, in my experience, it's a continuum between one, the realm you're in. Are you in what Robert Bruce might call the real time zone, where it's like a mimic of the physical, or are you in what Robert Monroe would call Focus 22, where you're at the park, right? Or are you hazy in awareness and unfocused, so where your consciousness can't properly process the information? So maybe you're blind, maybe it seems dreamy, but it's not really a dream, but it seems dreamy.
Right, yeah.
Or are you fully clear because you spent the last 4 weeks practicing concentration and meditation, and you could zone your consciousness into a pinpoint, and you're there, man. You're out of body, and I know I'm here, and it doesn't matter where you at, next to your bed or in a higher dimension. You're clear and you're there, and you're focused. So to me, it's a blending between those things. Which realm are you at, and how conscious and aware are you while you're there, and you could have the same level of awareness in either place.
Gotcha. See, and I guess that for some reason when we stay local, like the idea, I don't know, are you familiar with Daskalos or Dr. Stylianos Ateshlis at all? He's a Christian mystic. Most people...
No, I'm not.
Well, he was one of the people that talked about, you know how like Robert Monroe talked about how he pinched that woman when he was...
Oh, yeah, I remember that. And she had a bruiser, I remember right?
Yeah, so he talked about... Daskalos talked about how, so he called astral travel eczematosis is what he called it, and that he could affect things in the physical realm too. Like I think he moved a pair of scissors and things like that. and would talk about these things, which I think explains a lot of paranormal activity. I mean, if you think about it, you and I both know how real this is, right? And the fact that we know how real it is means that who else knows how real it is and who else is doing this stuff?
That's right.
It's the questions just keep going in that department. But the idea of being able to affect things physically while you're in the non-physical is fascinating to me. Have you been able to do that at all?
Not an out-of-body state. No, that's beyond my. I can't say I really tried, but I'm pretty certain if I did, I wouldn't be able to. So I've gotten pretty good enough to investigate certain things, but I know that there's other people who are like tons better than me, and I've never been able to do that. I've been able to, at least from my perspective, verify things. Like I went to visit Big Ben and it matched what I saw when I saw a picture of it later, and things like that. But I haven't moved things in the physical body, out of body. I moved things in the physical body, like I practiced telekinesis, moving this needle floating on the water. And in my experience, I was able to make it move back and forth, but it took a little while to get there, like about a month of practice. I remember somewhere around that time, I actually was able to make circles appear in the clouds. Like I was able to make this perfect circle open up in the clouds. I experimented with that for a little while. So in my experience, telepathy is possible. When you bring up, like when I hear you speak about what he was saying, it sounds like he's talking about the etheric body. So
yeah, so that's exactly what he calls it, the etheric double. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say that's beyond my experience, because in my experience, there's only one experience I had where I experienced multiple bodies out of body. Like basically I had how did that one start? I was practicing. Matter of fact, I had the intention to do that, to try to see if we actually have multiple bodies. So what happened is I spontaneously appeared on this non-physical dimension, and there was this man teaching. And he appeared like an elderly man teaching on this porch. And there were several people on this porch listening to him teach, and I appeared in the class. And when I became fully aware and I situated myself in the non-physical, I flew off, and I decided to see if I can reach down, if there really was another lower dimensional body in my physical body. So I reached my intention down, and I was able to puppet. In my experience, I was able to puppet a less dense body and make it walk. And when I did this, my perception changed. It was like I rather than being in the non-physical dimension, it was like my awareness was just overrun with like this kaleidoscope of color, like it was just swirling with color. And I felt myself like I was puppeting this lower dimensional body. There's this lady named Barbara Brennan, who's a very powerful clairvoyant. And she very much characterizes several different bodies, like the etheric body, the astral body, the mental body, and there's others who do that as well. But she's probably the one who, in my reading, her work seems most effective at understanding these bodies. But I still have more work to do to get to the point where I can really experience these different bodies. Like I believe in like the Buddhist tradition, they talk about basically every single dimension has a body that relates to that frequency of matter, but that's beyond my experience. So maybe that's one of the things I could work on that motivate me to practice again.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, definitely. But I can't see, like, did you just get bored of it? Like, I can't see me ever getting bored of this. Or are you just more focused on the curriculum side?
I mean, both. I mean, the fact is, there's only so much flying around you can do till it's just flying around. And there's only so many dead people you can see to where you realize you're just, you die and you go to the non-physical dimension. And yeah, so some of it is sort of boredom because, there's certain things I wanted to do. And when I had those things on my list, I was very motivated. Like I wanted to just get good. And that's when I got to the point where I was conscious 24 hours a day, and I wanted to meet a dead person. And I met my grandmother, and I wanted to meet an extraterrestrial, and I wanted to go into outer space. And once I did those things, it was like check. Then, I kind of lost my motivation a bit. And again, like you said, just, life. Sometimes that movie can seem more interesting, So, yeah. So it's just in the end, man. It's just, and that's it's part and parcel of what I was saying earlier as well. Like, out of body travel is not going to change the world. When we change the world. And out of body travel and higher frequencies is a part of that. But it's not anything special in that sense. It's just a normal, natural skill and ability. Just like some people could run really fast, and everybody could run. Some people could run faster than others, but everybody, like, some people have disabilities, but you understand what I'm saying?
Right.
The physical body is built so that you can run generally.
Now, why do you think Robert Monroe, why do you think that, if you had a clue, that it happened to him in a way that it did? Like, he just all of a sudden just started, if I remember the story right, just all of a sudden started having these experiences. It became easy to him. Now, from what you're telling me about your past and stuff, I guess it became easy to you. Like, I feel like some people have this natural affinity to where they can just do it easier, where others seem like they're just constantly struggling to try to learn how to do this. What do you think that is?
In my experience, it was just basically a continuation of previous life things. Like when I was a kid, a lot of metaphysical stuff came easy. Like I used to do yoga practice when I was a kid. I never read a book about yoga. I never even seen yoga, but I would just sit there and just start getting into yoga postures. How did I learn that? So there's people who like Mozart, where they say, well, that's development, or Helen Schuckman, like in my mini bio, I talk about how I'm in the Course in Miracles, and she basically channeled the Course in Miracles, and what she understood from the voice that she was channeling it from, it's an ability that she developed in the previous lifetime that she's utilizing now. So in my experience, it's just I've already developed these things in other lifetimes, and that's why, and basically I'm tapping into that lifetime, you can say. The fact is, it's just an ability. It's not spiritual or special in and of itself, and it might be better for some people not to do it because maybe they have to get over some judging that job for their spiritual development. If you have to choose between, I guess you could say, let me word it differently. If you had to make a choice between learning how to master out-of-body travel and reaching enlightenment, most of us are not going to choose enlightenment because that's scary. But the more valuable thing would be reaching enlightenment. So it's not like it's the most important thing in the world. And somebody could become very spiritual and have a kind heart and be forgiving and be loving and not have hatred and not have guilt and pain flow through them and not learn how to out-of-body travel at all. At the same time, there's people who go out of body. Let me tell you about this experience. So I read a lot of stuff on the metaphysical stuff, like I said, and one of the things I read about was these people who get out, who are vampires. They're psychic vampires,
right? And
they practice sucking people's energy. So I got their book just to check it out, and didn't seem right to me to practice. It just seemed like, okay, I'm sucking people's energy. This is not good. So I didn't do that. But it was interesting to read about, and the highest end of their practice, they actually go out of body and suck energy. So what happened is the group of them must be aware of you. For a little while I've dabbled with the techniques just to see. Maybe that tipped them off to me. Or just the fact that I bought the book, maybe that tipped them off to me. But what happened is I was sitting in my room. And this was a period of time when I was practicing a bit. So when you're practicing, you start to become aware of non-physical things, like you can start to perceive beings in a room and things like that. So I'm sitting in my room. I don't remember what I was doing, but this being walked into the room. But I knew this was not an alien. This is a human, and he proceeded to start sucking my energy. And I shielded my aura like I learned how to do elsewhere, and he went away. But this is a person who can get out of body, but he's using it to suck people's energy. So just like how you could run away from a bank you just robbed, you can also run to, help somebody out of a burning building or whatever. So the same thing is just a tool. So some people might have developed it in other lifetimes. Some people might have barriers. Again, maybe there's something else they should be focusing on for their development. And sometimes it's just fear. Like there's a part in the book Travel Far where I talk about a troubleshooting section, and I talk about the different things that might be barriers, psychological barriers to you. One of them could be fear. You really have a fear of it because, it's frightening. Even me, like when I started as a kid, it was spontaneous at first. I didn't really know what was going on. And then when I started to realize, okay, something is going on, still it didn't really register, But when I really started reading and realized, I'm going out of body. What if I don't come back? I was actually scared for a while. I was like, I don't know if I want to keep doing this.
Well, here's another scary thought too. People go, "Oh, that never happens. It's very safe." Well, you know what? You returned to tell us the story, so of course you're going to say that.
Of course, sir. You never know. But but I decided though. I said, well, you know what? Because eventually I realized, okay, if this is really going out of the body, that's when I started to make goals. If this is really going out of the body, could I go meet a dead person? If this is really going out of the body, can I go meet extraterrestrials? And I decided, even if I'm going to die, I'm going to do it again. And as you can see, I'm still here, but it had to be a choice to overcome that fear. It could be fear of power, fear of feeling like you have power, because, some people want to be victims of the government. That's what they get off on. They may not know it consciously, but they can spend all day complaining about what the horrible government is doing when it's just a small group of people who we empower to do what they're doing. But they don't want to know that. They want to be the victim. So, some people may not want to do it secretly for that reason. So what I suggest and what I advise is, if you have difficulty and you think it might be, even if it's because you're not applying yourself, maybe you have to sit there and really honestly look, what fears do I have? Do I have any fears? Do I think I'm going to die? Do I think I'm going to seem weird to people? Do I think I'm going to not care about my life anymore? Do I think, am I going to get out of body and I'm going to let my shoulders fall apart? You might have to look into yourself and see what those fears are and address them. And that could be psychological barriers that's imposing you as well. So it could be several things. I would say if you just really sit down and look into yourself, it could be it's just not important enough to you. You might have to look into yourself and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to make it important enough to me, and I'm going to, even if I have to miss that favorite TV show, even if I have to do whatever, have to cut out, I'm going to make time for it. It might be just having to just make a determination. But if you look at yourself honestly, I'm sure you'll find out what it is.
Yeah, that's some pretty important stuff, man. Yeah, I thought about that too. Like, if I'm going to do this, I could. But I want to do that. That's when you know that you're passionate about something. That's a pretty good point you make there. Because how do you know what you're here to do, right? How do you know what you're passionate about? Well, if you can tell yourself that I'm still going to do this, whether it kills me or not, regardless, if I don't know if it's going to kill me, there's a clue, I would think, right? That you're pretty passionate about something. Because sometimes I talk about that on the broadcast. I'm like, well, we used to live in a country full of men who died for what they believed in. Now I don't know if we're that way, or if we've been so zombified by the media and all of our devices that we're not doing that inner journey that much anymore. But who am I to speak? It's like I'm speaking for everybody else. I'm probably just talking about myself here.
I understand.
But I get it. And that whole dangerous notion, I'd like to believe that it's not dangerous. But to my point earlier is some people that, let's say you do the out of body stuff, right? And you do, leave your body and you can't come back. Well, if that's the case, all of the people that did have bad things happen, they're not going to be able to come back and tell you that it's not dangerous. So all you're ever going to hear is how safe it is most of the time, But from what I've read and what you've told me and some of my own experiences, there's some things out there that in the astral realm, or whatever you guys want to call it, that aren't that friendly, right? I mean, you've come across them before, I'm sure.
I mean, the idea of not being able to come back, what if you can't come back? Like, I had that experience that we talked about on the break where I tried to get back into my body and I couldn't. But I wasn't scared. I just realized that I needed to wait a little while. And my experience was that my physical body was just still in delta sleep. I just had to wait for it to wake up. But I did read about somebody's experience where I can't remember where they went, but they went somewhere. And there was some being or entity there that was not really, it wasn't like a being like we think of it. It was almost like a machine or something. I read this a long time ago. But suffice it to say, whatever this is, just attached to the person's non-physical body and wouldn't let them go. And they tried to get back in body and they couldn't. And what happened is they ended up back in their body, like they ended up being able to open their physical eyes, but every time they closed their physical eyes, they were back there. So if you imagine, like, they opened their eyes, and I'm in my room, they closed their eyes, they're back wherever they was, and they just stuck to this thing. And what happened is some guy had to come help get them free. Like some non-physical being came and freed them. And that's what happened. Another thing that same person mentioned was they tried to go to like Area 51 or something like that. And this being came and warned him. Oh, I remember now. He was seeing a lot of gray aliens and stuff, and seeing their spacecraft. And he found out either from hearing their thoughts or seeing them or whatever that they had some kind of connection to one of the military bases, one of the DUMBs. You probably heard of the Deep Underground Military Base or whatever. And he thought about going there to investigate, but some being came and warned him and said, "Hey, don't do that, because they have this technology to where they can put up this field and trap your astral body, and you can't escape it, and then your physical body just dies because you never come back to it." So, according to those two stories, I mean, it's possible to get for something to grab you and not let you go. I mean, I don't know what would have happened if, like, apparently he could manage to open his physical eyes and be in his physical body, apparently, but every time he closed his eyes, he was there. What would have happened if nobody helped? I mean, I don't know. Or, what if there's some graves that do have this technology? I mean, I've read about E.T. races that even change bodies. They literally can take your soul or mind or whatever you want to call it and put it in a different body. So seems to me that they can, I mean, I've read of several accounts where they would plug you to a machine. They can read your thoughts. They can read your dreams. You can go to sleep. They can record your dreams. So it's clear that there are extraterrestrial races that are able to manipulate what we call the non-physical. It's just another frequency of matter. So it stands to reason that there might be some that can trap you. So, but again, I'm not trying to scare people, but there's accounts that something can happen. But again, my position was, hey, you know what? Because my thing was, out-of-body experience to me became the way to find it. I thought it was the key to the meaning and purpose of life. That's what I would say was my initial motivation when I realized that it was something like. And then you're reading Robert Monroe, like he talked about the different rings. I remember in his book, and he was saying, these different rings are like these different rungs of development, and you're basically trying to go up these rings, and eventually you become an old timer and a last timer. You go on to the next level. So I thought, okay, this is what it's about. I learned that it's not right, but at the time that's what I was thinking.
But he also did where he went into someone else's body too. You remember that alternate life that he ended up going back and forth from. So that's kind of trippy. Right. Yeah, we're at the top of the hour here. Excuse me, but I can keep clearing my throat. Got all this pollen around here, man. But yeah, we're at the top of the hour. We got to take a break. Darryl E Berry Jr. is here. If you want to call in, I can't imagine. Look, if you're an astral traveler or you're just trying to start this stuff, you got any questions or some weird experiences in the astral realm, give us a call. 1-800-588-0335. I'd like to hear from you. We'll be right back. More Lighting the Void coming up in our third hour. Stay with us.
This is Malorcas 45, fan of the Fringe FM, challenging everyone to open their mind's eye. Listen to Lighting the Void with Joe Roop to gain precision for your third eye vision.
Hi, this is Aaron Hunter, host of Real Paranormal Activity, the podcast where we tell real paranormal experiences of people from around the world. And we also conduct interviews with authors, investigators, psychics, and mediums. Real people, real stories, real fear. Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern on the Fringe FM. See you then.
Have you ever seen an ad or banner which brought you a feeling that someone is reading your mind or even listening to your conversations? Your online data is being used against you. Surfshark is a VPN service that makes online privacy protection easy and attainable. You can use it on as many devices as you'd like simultaneously. The VPN service that we use at UFO Seekers, plus 1 month free for $1.99 a month. Visit surfshark.deals/seekers. We spend almost as much time online as sleep, and that's 6 to 8 hours a day. The internet knows a lot about us, and that's why we should care about our online data. Use Surfshark to encrypt your personal information and send it via a secure VPN tunnel so that no one can see it without your permission. Visit surfshark.deals/seekers. You need to protect yourself from surveillance and targeted advertising. Surfshark encrypts all internet traffic sent to and from your devices and ensures that your IP address remains hidden. The VPN service that we use at UFO Seekers, plus 1 month free for $1.99 a month. Visit surfshark.deals/seekers.
My name is Jake. I'm from Billings, Montana, and I am a void walker.
Hey, Joe Root. Thanks for lighting the void. This is Janine in the bluegrass of Kentucky, and I am a void walker.
What's up, guys? This is Damien from San Marcos, Texas, and I'm a void walker. I listen to the show to keep myself aligned with the world.
Hi, this is Laura, aka Laura Lavender. I'm from Las Vegas, and I listen to Lighting the Void because it helps me understand some of the strangest experiences I've had. So thanks for all that you do and for always being there for us, Joe.
Ever seen an extraterrestrial? It can be hard to believe they exist unless you've seen one for yourself. What if I told you I've seen them my whole life, but have never had a witness who shared the encounter with me? Now, what if I told you I saw 4 of them, 2 with blue skin, and there are over 20 witnesses to this CE5 event? My new book, The Blue Beings, Visitation at the UFO Conference, documents actual accounts from real witnesses, many of which have gone on record to attest to this otherworldly reality. Be a part of a quantum paradigm shift that is taking place right now. Go to johnpolkmedia.com to get your copy of The Blue Beings, Visitation at the UFO Conference, on sale right now at johnpolkmedia.com. That's JOHNPOLK media.com.
In your face, all over the place. We're online 24/7. 24/7. You're listening to the hottest internet station.
This is the Rogie Report News on the Fringe FM. I'm Jess Rogie. In space news, NASA's high-resolution coronal imager has captured the sharpest images of the sun ever. The images were taken by NASA's high-resolution coronal imager, also known as HI-C for short. The unique telescope was carried into space on a suborbital rocket flight. The telescope revealed ultra-fine magnetic threads filled with million-degree plasma, some measuring as small as 7 kilometers in size, or 0.01% of the sun. Dr. Tom Williams, a postdoctoral researcher at the University of Central Lancashire, who worked on the HI-C data, said, "This is a fascinating discovery that could better inform our understanding of the flow of energy through the layers of the sun and eventually go down to the Earth itself. This is so important if we are to model and predict the behavior of our life-giving star." Can the moon be mined for resources? Recently, President Trump signed an executive order to kickstart mining on Earth's resource-rich satellite. The president created the executive order on encouraging international support for the recovery and use of space resources. The order specifies that a return to the moon would allow the country to explore lunar materials, and it suggests that the scope of this new era of commercialization would apply to the moon, Mars, and other celestial bodies. Lunar development would include a search for minerals as well as water, and this would require partnerships between the U.S. government and private industry. And speaking of private industry, SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket is scheduled to launch its 6th batch of Starlink satellites on April 16th from the Kennedy Space Center. The launch will be carried out with a small crew and social distancing measures in place, said Brigadier General Doug Scheiss, commander of the 45th Space Wing that oversees the Florida Space Coast ranges. The U.S. Space Force announced it would postpone the launch of the GPS-3 satellite to minimize the potential spread of the COVID-19 to the launch crew and its operators until late June. Brigadier General Scheiss said that under the current health emergency, the decision to support a launch is considered on a case-by-case basis. The Starlink launch is less labor-intensive than a national security mission like GPS, he said. There are approximately 350 Starlink satellites in orbit around the Earth, and SpaceX is approximately halfway to completing its goal of 800 satellites to orbit the planet. And according to Musk, building an operational Starlink satellite internet broadband constellation could cost as little as $10 billion. This is the Rogie Report News on the Fringe FM. I'm Jess Rogie.
Listening to Lighting the Void. The call-in number is 1-800-588-0335. If you would like to text, you can text in at 501-777-5631.
All right, welcome back. I'm your host, Joe Root. Tomorrow night on the program on Lighting the Void, Ian J. is going to be here with us, and he is an artist, author, and public speaker, and a contributor to Lucid Dreaming Research magazine, and the creator of Iboga Moon Productions. This guy is known for clearly expounding his extensive experience on lucid dreaming. That's tomorrow night on the program, and then Frank Castle will be coming on the following night. Tonight our guest is Darryl E Berry Jr., and here in our third hour, we have the Reverend Dan Lopez is joining us, just in case there's some questions that I probably missed that some of you guys want to get. Dan's pretty good at getting those out, too. And I wanted to read something here that I got via mail here from a guy named Dale. He says, "Hi, Joe. I don't usually bother to take the time to write podcasters I listen to, but I just wanted to let you know that I really enjoy your podcast and appreciate all of your efforts in producing the show day after day. I know it can't always be easy or feel it's worth it, but I wanted you to know how comforting I find your voice and your show. Such interesting topics, and I can feel how genuine you are with your opinions and feelings, and sometimes I fall asleep listening to the show, but I always listen again the next day, because I certainly want to soak up everything that you and your guests say. Anyways, keep up the good work. We really appreciate it, especially in these weird times." And that's Dale from Vancouver. Dale, brother, thank you for contacting the show, man. I really appreciate that. And you have no idea what that means. And you can send an email, too, by going to contact@lightingthevoid.com. That's the email you can send me if you want to send me one. Or there's a speak pipe button there as well. If you want to support the show, you can donate or use our Patreon or grab something from the shop. So Darryl is here with us. Darryl E Berry Jr. is the website. Massive and extensive courses on the astral body or the astral travel experience, how to do this. It's very extensive, and it's all free. And I think what I've gathered so far from you, because this is the first time you've been on the show, is you're really passionate about this. You really believe it. You've had some really intense experiences with it. But I think you're finding the importance on, the prerequisites and how to develop, ourselves. What I still can't get over the fact, though, and maybe Dan, you can help me out with this too, is that you've become bored with it. Like, did you go out to, well, I don't want to say bored, you've just done a lot of it, but did you go out to further regions like Robert Monroe did, or did you get stuck in this local place, or I just don't see how. Oh
yeah. Like, I've been to higher realms, like I've been to his park area. There's a university out there as well. I would say the highest realm I might say I've been to in the out-of-body experience was, I was in this depressed period. I don't even remember why. But similar to when I called for that being, and when I saw the AI movie, I just wanted to experience some higher being. So I figured I'm going to go to the source. And this was a period of time when I was practicing pretty frequently, so it was pretty easy for me to get out of body. So I just went in my bedroom and I kneeled on the floor, and I put my palms to the floor, and I put my forehead to the back of my hand, and I just intended to go to the source. I didn't know what the source was, or I just thought there must be some source. I wanted to go to the source, and I intended myself to go to the source. Much like how you were saying, you visualize, you just pop out.
Yeah.
But I didn't know where I was going, so I intended within, because I didn't know if the source was within or without. So I intended within to the very core of my being. And simultaneously, I intended without, and I just stretched my mind to the very ends of existence and beyond. So simultaneously, I was going to the depths of my being and to the ends of the universe, and with this intention and focus that was just, that I can't even, I'm sure I couldn't do right now. I was in the zone.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, just boom, I was out of body, and I was hovering before this being that was like this massive star. But instead of, I didn't know what it was radiating, I just knew it was radiating. And then next thing you know, the wave of his radiation hit me. And if you could imagine the purest love you can possibly imagine, and the purest acceptance, like 100% absolute acceptance. And that's what it was radiating. It was radiating shards of pure unconditional love and pure unconditional acceptance. And this wave, it was like just shards of light just radiating from it, but it was pure love and acceptance. And when it hit me, it was just amazing. And I started to cry because it was just so wonderful. And physically, I started to wipe my eyes, and I became in body and out of body at the same time. So I was out of body, floating in front of this being, just being overwhelmed with love and acceptance. And I was simultaneously physically wiping my eyes, similar to how the Monroe Institute people, the Explorer team, they were talking to the microphone, you know?
Yeah.
So, but eventually, like, I noticed that it started to blow pieces of me off. Like I became aware of my aura. And have you ever seen like a video of an explosion where it just blows things away? It was just blowing unneeded parts of my aura off. And it was just like I was just hit with this wave of just expanding energy that was just breaking apart some parts of me that I guess I didn't need. And then it started to penetrate into the core of my being, and I didn't feel worthy. So I started to try to block it. But it just would not happen. It just kept penetrating until it finally just reached the absolute core of my being. And then I was just immersed in this absolute love and acceptance. And I went there 3 days in a row. But that was a wonderful experience. I would say that's like the highest experience I had out of body. But that's not the highest experience I've had, period. So the initial drive that got me to wanting to go out of body is because I thought it was going to lead to the purpose of life.
Yeah, right.
But when I reached the highest, that I've heard, I've only heard a few people making it to the source. It wasn't the end of everything. And going to various dimensions and stuff, I realized this is just a different dimension. It's not the end of everything. And I think that's part of what took the sting away as well, because I was really searching for the meaning and purpose of life. And when I realized that out-of-body travel didn't hold the meaning and purpose of life, then I kept on searching, and that's how I ended up getting to A Course in Miracles. And with A Course in Miracles, I ended up having an experience where I became the mind that's dreaming the universe. I became the mind itself that contains
the holy instant.
Wow.
The holy instant.
But suffice it to say that I experienced myself as being that mind.
Gotcha.
And I recognize that I'm the dream of the dream. I recognize that I can make that decision and end the whole universe. And, the out-of-body experience is just a part of that. All of existence is just a part of that. As the dreaming mind, I was able to look down on existence, and I was able to see that it's just a field of meaningless activity. Whether you're a government official or you're a layman, whether you're this Illuminati elite or you're some victim, or whether you're a multimillionaire, whether you're an extraterrestrial that travels the universe, is all part of this illusory universe. It just is absolutely meaningless. And the only purpose of life is really, I guess you could say, recognizing that by undoing the unconscious guilt in our mind. So from that perspective, like if you were to go to my site and look at the homepage, you'll see that there's two symbols on the front. So the symbol on the left, I made that based upon an out-of-body experience I had where I was a kid, and I became aware floating at the ceiling. I was like, okay, I'm out of body floating at the ceiling again. But then I noticed I didn't have a body. I'm like, what am I? I just realized I was just this point or field of consciousness. And I looked towards my bed, and I saw my non-physical body floating at the ceiling like I used to always do. And I saw my physical body on the bed. So I realized, okay, I'm consciousness. But then I get inside a physical body. But then, I'm consciousness, and I get inside my non-physical body. And then I get inside my physical body. Similar to, you remember Robin Monroe, he would float out of body. Then he would get out of his non-physical body as a curl. So that's like the only time I experienced myself really fully as a curl. And so that's that left symbol. But if you look at the right symbol, that has to do with that higher path. So once I had that experience and the experience of being beyond the universe itself, and I was able to see the universe for what it is, illusory, that horizontal line, that stands for all of existence. So on the left, it might be a person who is just doesn't know anything about anything spiritual. He's just a miser and he's killing people or whatever. Yeah. And the right might be maybe you're a 10,000-year-old alien in a civilization that's 1 million years old, and you're very loving and you're spiritual, but you're still in the universe. From the level of the dreaming mind, all of that is equal. And a horizontal line is a symbol for enlightenment, the path where you're actually leaving the illusion. So from that perspective, getting out of body is no different from anything else. And getting out of body, reaching true spiritual growth is not dependent upon whether you get out of body or not. That's is a misconception even a lot of course students have, like when I tell them what I do. But really, it's just another part of the illusion. So it just depends on what your purpose is. But I don't think I would have been ready, and I'm still not ready to fully accept the message of the course, because I'm still here when I could have made that choice then. But I don't think I would have been ready to accept it to the degree that I'm able to. I didn't have those experiences of knowing that I'm not the body. We died as a different dimension, and I'm eating dead people and aliens, and it broadened my base enough to where I was able to look at it from even higher level. So I'm not saying that there's no value in it, but at the same time, when you become aware of, there's other things you can become aware of, where however fanciful the out of body experience looks before you had those experiences.
Just another level.
It's just another part of the universe.
So what do you think these drawings, the vertical and the horizontal line and the circles and the dot, is this something that came to you, or is this something that you just that you felt like you remembered, or is this something that where you're just trying to explain things?
I guess a combination of all of those things. It was a moment of inspiration, a moment of trying to explain my understanding in a simple way, and just a moment of creativity. When I look at those symbols, when I look at the left, it is a symbol of the out-of-body state, the bottom one, the physical body, the gray middle one, the non-physical body, and the black circle, consciousness itself, and the right side, the horizontal line is all of existence, and that vertical line, leaving existence. So just a nice, simple way to explain it. And it just means, when I look at it, it just reminds me.
Well, if you think about it, though, right, we call all this stuff spirituality, and there's the ideas of heaven and hell, and there's a whole lot of different spiritual beliefs, and there's a lot of comparisons and judgments going on and all that stuff. But if we realized, like what you did, let's say we did realize, okay, at the core of this thing, it's just this all source that just wants to experience a whole bunch of stuff for no particular reason other than to experience itself in many different ways and many different things. People would be like, well, I think people would be like, where's the love and all this other stuff? Well, it is love. If you think about it that way, there's no pressure. I mean, the ultimate end is guaranteed anyways, right? So what are you worried about? Why are you comparing yourself? What's the judgments for? Just have the experience, right? That would make things a lot easier, I think, wouldn't it?
Well, the thing is that it's a matter of purpose. It's still a matter of purpose. So it's not an accident or happenstance that we judge. We judge because it protects us from awareness of that oneness. Because when I had that experience as universal mind, the first thing I recognized was I'm the dreamer of the dream. Much like how Buddha said, all minds are one. There's only one mind in existence, or however he put it, right?
Right.
I'm the dreamer. But then, so I recognize the field of meaningless activity and the self that I am now, which is one little speck in this meaningless field. Then I recognize that as the dreamer of the dream, I could have made one decision and the whole universe would disappear, which is a decision to no longer choose to be separate from oneness, no longer choose to believe that this self is real and valid. The terror of that, the terror of losing my individual self caused me to just collapse back down into my individual self again.
Right.
And that's the motivation to judge. As long as I'm angry, as long as I'm afraid, as long as I hate you because of what you did to me, as long as I hate the government or hate this, or as long as I'm afraid of this coronavirus, or long as I'm whatever, as long as I'm excited about the out-of-body experience and I think it's so important and major, as long as I think anything in the universe is important, on one level, again, it could be whatever development we need at the time. But on another level, it's a distraction to keep us protected from recognizing that this whole thing is illusory anyway. So it's purposive. It's not a matter of, if they only knew about it, if they only knew they could get rid of this judgment and be happier, all they got to do is let them know. No, they don't want to be happy. They want to be nice and upset. They just want to make sure it's your fault. And again, that's all of it.
Right. Yeah.
Anytime we judge, we want to be upset and angry. We just want it to be someone else's fault. So then I'm protected. My individual self is protected. But now I could have somebody else to blame for, and that's the whole game. The game that we secretly play, subconsciously play, but it's a game that we always play, because if we're the dreamer of the dream, if there's only one mind in existence and we're the dreamer, then whatever you did to hurt me, I'm the one that did it because I'm dreaming you. It's similar. It's like if I had a hand puppet on my hand, a hand puppet, and I made the hand puppet punch me in the face. Like all you see, like I'm standing behind a little wall or something, all you see is the hand puppet there, and you see me. You don't see my arm.
Yeah, you don't see the attachment to it, right?
Yeah, you don't see. So this hand puppet is punching me in the face, and I'm like, man, this hand puppet. I hate this hand puppet, right? But I'm the one that's. It's really me. But that's what we do to ourselves. We put a little wall there, and we obscure the fact that we're the one maneuvering all the hand puppets. We're the dreamer of the dream. So our anger is purposive. We maneuver the hand puppets to attack us. Then we make ourselves forget that we're maneuvering the hand puppets. So then we can pretend we're just a dream figure like everybody else, and we have all these problems. And it's really frightening to let that go, because if you let that go, you let your individual self go. So yeah, man, that's
well, it's an awful vivid dream, because the pain is real. It hurts, the suffering's real because it hurts, but I think that's necessary, right? That's like, I think we all want to feel like, and I feel this way. I feel like we want that we're here for a purpose, to grow into something bigger and better. And then that's why all the little animals are here, because we're taught to love them, and we're learning how to be responsible for things. And then we have children, so we're kind of taught to, grow our own selves too, and learn how to love everybody. Like, Jesus was talking about love your enemy, and then we'll graduate on to something bigger and better. But I wonder if sometimes I wonder if that's not the case. But everything I see in the universe kind of looks that way. It's just cycles of coming together and then breaking apart, coming together and breaking apart. Other than that, you got all these black holes, and nobody knows what's on the other side of that. But what you're talking about is, I believe, is the truth, because I'm a hermeticist, and that stuff that you're talking about goes way, way, way back, all the way to the Sumerians, where they talk about this all mind, all is mind, as above, so below, and all of the different gods and stuff are just aspects of the smaller aspects of the one mind, and it just kind of breaks down in pyramid fashion as it fragments. But then again, we could just be trying to explain stuff in stories too. But it does seem a little disheartening, though, that you've got to this place and it was boring. And, there was one other person that came on the show that told me that, and it was Lon Malu Duquette, who's a practicing ceremonial magician like myself, and said that he had a moment of enlightenment like that and realized that, being God was boring. That's a trippy thought, isn't it? Is that what you're talking about? Is that comparable?
Like that experience was more of recognizing that the self is not real.
Oh, okay.
So the mind that's dreaming the universe, the purpose of making a universe is a defense against itself recognizing that it doesn't exist. So basically, reality, like when I say reality, I mean this entire universe is illusory. And reality is there's no distinction, there's no separation. And there's only individuality in separation. So if I let go of my separation, then I let go of individuality. So judgment is separation and hatred is separation. So those things we choose to protect us. So this level of mind, the dreamer of the dream, this is beyond all concept of God, beyond all concept of boredom, beyond all of those things are constructs in the dream. Boredom and all of that stuff is constructs. That's part of the like there is one mind that fragments itself, but any single concept you could think of is part of that fragmentation. The one dreaming mind is projecting all of that.
And what about the star being that made you feel that way?
That's part of it as well, part of the illusion. It's still one tiny speck within the illusion. Every single thing that's perceivable, everything that's conceivable is illusory. Everything. Whether it's the physical universe, whether it's an extraterrestrial, whether it's the highest non-physical dimension you could think of, whether it's the Buddhic body or whatever the highest non-physical body you could think of, all of it is absolutely illusory. And of course, in miracles, it's not about belief. It's not a belief system. It's something that if it makes sense to you and you start to apply it, you could potentially have an experience to where, I mean, it's really not anything you could really describe. Like I'm describing it, but at the same time, there's nothing I can say that could do it justice. But you can start to have experiences that are beyond. In a sense, you can say beyond experience, because when we think about experience, we think about it from the perspective of the individual self. But there's a level beyond. There's a level that projects the individual self. Let me put it that way. And from that level, as the dreamer of the dream, all of this stuff is illusory and meaningless, and it's absolutely frightening because we disappear too. So yeah, I mean, the fact is there are different. There's many different rungs of experience along the way, and again, I wouldn't trade that experience. I wouldn't trade that experience of visiting the source, and it really helped me get through a difficult time. But at the same time, that's still not the highest experience.
What kind of difficulty are you talking about? Like just like a midlife crisis kind of thing, or were you trying to figure out what's going, like purpose of life, or?
I was just depressed. I don't even remember. It probably was something crazy, like there was a girl I liked, and you know,
we all go through that, man. Yeah.
But suffice it to say, but like you said, though, you know, as illusory as it may be, it feels very real, right? And it might be, you know, you could be a little kid and you drop your lollipop, and it could be just as painful to you as, you know, somebody. You know, they lost their business and they're in pain. The pain you experience is always real and valid to the person that's experiencing it. But the reason why that pain is so valid is because is a fragmentary projection from that universal mind, that fear and that guilt of choosing to separate. That's the foundation of all the pain we experience. And what happens is as you start to learn to forgive that pain at this level, it starts to break down the barriers to accessing that greater level. And that's actually how I accessed that level. I wasn't trying to access that level. I was just practicing forgiveness like the course teachers. I was just practicing forgiveness. And I was sitting in my college class just thinking about things differently, and boom, my self just went away. So,
interesting.
I mean, you will be surprised how flimsy this stuff is. It seems so real. And again, I still live a life, and I work, and I have my favorite foods and my favorite TV shows, and I avoid pain and I seek pleasure, and you know I still experience stuff when I'm here. But when the veil between how real this world seems to the experience of how flimsy it really is it was amazing how thin it was. And after the experience happened, I was back in my body again, and it was like. It's just crazy how unreal it is, but how real it seems, which we're familiar with. when you have a dream at night, I mean, we've all had dreams at night that seem very real.
Yeah.
And when we wake up and we think about it, obviously it was a dream. It was all hazy and cloudy, and we was running from a pink elephant that was throwing axes at us. And obviously it makes absolutely no sense. But while you were in the dream, it was so real. You were scared out your mind. You was running for your life from a pink elephant throwing axes at you. It was real at the time.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what we're experiencing right now. From within the dream, everything seems real. The pain seems real. The fear seems real.
Yeah.
But from that level, it's clearly not.
Last break of the night. We'll let Dan ask some questions here too, because that is perplexing, brother. For real. I like it. We'll be right back.
JD Lewis, and you'll be listening to me, the host. No, that's wrong, because I'm not a host, I'm a hostess. I'm like a cupcake. Yeah, I get it. I do the show called Real Talk on the Fringe FM. Well, I'll be going live this Wednesday, April 15th, from 7 to 9 Pacific time in the evening. Do you hear that noise in the background? That's my dishwasher. It's like a high hum. It's because I do this stuff out of my apartment. Anyway, I'm going live. Call me. I'm at, what's the number here? 503-575-9980. 503-575-9980. We can talk. After all, it's real talk.
This is Barbara Charlton from Metaphorical Archaeology. If you've ever had a traumatic paranormal experience, the effects of it may stay with you for years. Who do you talk to? You can't go to conventional help. What we do is we use emotional freedom techniques or tapping to actually neutralize the effects of that event. Maybe when you tell the story now, your heart races and your palms get sweaty. You don't even want to think about it because you don't know how to neutralize that. That's what EFT tapping does. It neutralizes those emotions. The circuit that was recorded on is gone. The energy flows freely and you're free of it. And that's what emotional freedom is all about. We offer this as a pro bono service, but this is something that I offer because no one, it seems, is helping people with these experiences. If you'd like to reach me, it's really easy. My cell phone is 214-995-3754. Please leave a message. I will get back to you as quickly as possible. Or you can email me, barb.eft@gmail.com. And EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. Reach out to me. It's confidential. This works. You won't believe the results.
Listen, I want to tell you about G.I. Joy from GetTheT.com. It's the best alchemical concoction of goodies for your stomach and digestive system I can recommend, and that's all based on my experience. Packed with colostrum, acidophilus, aloe, peppermint, and turmeric. If you do your own research, then you know this is the bee's knees for the stomach and digestion. Now, due to Big Brother's ears and the eye in the sky, you know I can't go into the details about what it helped me with. All I can say is I got relief. It's non-GMO, no fillers, no preservatives, manufactured right here in the US of A, and delivered to you by the only people who stay on top of the game and are out in front. Go grab a bottle of G.I. Joy at GetTheT.com and see what all the fuss is about. Again, that's GetTheT.com.
The Fringe FM isn't just a radio station. We also provide services for all your audio production needs. If you are interested in live radio or pre-recorded podcasts, we're here to help. We even do audio enhancements and voiceovers if needed. If you want to do a podcast or live radio show and even want the option to syndicate on terrestrial radio, from simple audio file enhancement to live production and call screening, we have you covered. We have worked with some of the best professionals in the business in order to provide coaching instruction for content creation, show structure, and more. Contact The Fringe Digital Media for more at info@thefringe.fm. That's info@thefringe.fm. Or call 501-777-5631 for a consultation.
Have you ever seen an ad or banner which brought you a feeling that someone is reading your mind or even listening to your conversations? Your online data is being used against you. Surfshark is a VPN service that makes online privacy protection easy and attainable. You can use it on as many devices as you'd like simultaneously. Surfshark encrypts all internet traffic sent to and from your devices and ensures that your IP address remains hidden. The VPN service that we use at UFO Seekers plus 1 month free for $1.99 a month. Visit surfshark.deals/seekers.
Hey, I'm J.M. DeBoard, and when I want to talk about dreams, I look up my man Joe Root and his show, Lighting the Void.
To call Joe, pick up the phone, dial 1-800-588-0335, toll free from the United States or Canada. You're listening to Lighting the Void Radio.
All right, welcome back to Lighting the Void. We are in the last segment of the show. Darryl E Berry Jr. is our guest tonight. A fantastic and extensive course on astral travel and the out-of-body experience. Also here in the last part of the show, the Reverend Dan Lopez is here with us. And, yeah, it's been a fascinating conversation so far. I do wonder, though, what you plan on doing next. I think what I want to do at this point, because we talked about so much. I mean, we've talked about your experiences. We've talked about your courses, what your thoughts are when you had this enlightening experience and the E.T.s and all these different things that you met. I'm wondering if I'm missing something. Dan, do you got a question for our guest tonight?
I'm pretty sure he's here for you, Joe, because...
Well, you don't, that means no, right? Okay. So
I have like 15 questions, but you're on a roll, so...
No, go ahead.
Fun.
Just ask one of your questions, please.
Dude,
get them on paper.
It's such a pleasure, man. I freaking wrote a whole bunch of stuff down, but you was already talking about stuff. I was going to cover stuff like bilocation. All right, here's a good one. In your courses that you have developed and stuff like that, have you ever worked on developing a workshop in your mind?
A workshop in my mind?
Sure, like developing a place. You know what? Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like you're talking basically like the place there at Robin Monroe. I've made a few places like that before. I do intend on making another place like that where we can meet at. But yeah, I plan on having a non-physical headquarters, but that's pretty easy to make. I mean, basically what happens is, in my experience, whenever we imagine, we have an effect on the non-physical dimension, and there's a whole lot of, you can say, free non-physical matter floating about that you can form and shape to your making. So, for instance, like the park that Robin Monroe talks about, that's simply a non-physical realm that a lot of different beings frequent and maintain to look and be that way. But you can make your own realm, and it'll be your own personal realm, or the people who's combining together on the Patreon. Y'all can make your own realm, and y'all can decide what it's going to look like. Many years ago, I had a little group of people I was teaching, and I started building a realm. I called it the Eco Realm at the time, and a few people apparently got there. So definitely, I plan on doing that at some point again.
Yeah, no.
I was just wondering if you had that in place, because I've come from the world of like Edgar Cayce in the area and stuff like that. So I come from like Jess Stern and the power of alpha thinking, and that's where I was coming from, because they had showed you how to go into your go into the meditations so you can get into your own state and get into that place where you can start developing a little workshop for yourself in your imaginary state while you're in state, and start putting together things that will work for you in order for you to make it comfortable for you, so you can start to understand and reflect on the things that draw you, the things that repel you, the things you might think you have to work on, the people who you feel might need your energy put out there for healing, or your blessings and things like that, and with things of that nature and things that concern you, to where you would have to sit there and you'd be able to feel the symbols and the energy that's coming from it and allow that to show itself from that different aspect of yourself, so that it has a completely different bearing on you, so you can see the problems that you're looking at from a different aspect of yourself instead of seeing it from the actual problem that you're in. That's where I was coming from, and that's why I brought that up.
That sounds good. Yeah, I mean, there's times when I go into like the alpha or the theta state, and I might consider problems at that time. I guess I haven't made such a formal practice out of it. It sounds like that's a very formal, very structured way of applying it. It sounds very helpful. I guess to most I've done is like I will get into an alpha state. Like let's say I have a problem I want to think about, and I might bring myself to an alpha state or a light theta state, and then think about the problem in that state, and it might help me figure it out better.
Here's a completely erroneous question, and I just want to put it to you because I've only had one other person tell me that they've experienced this. During your day, after you finally are done with your day and you're ready to rest, have you ever laid down, closed your eyes, and realized that you're looking at a completely different space-time, whatever, but it's like three-dimensional, almost MC Escher-like, but in the 3D. There's not a lot happening there, but it's a complete construct. And you can look around it, and you have depth perception and everything, but it won't go away. Like you can open your eyes, close it, and it's still there. Do you ever have that?
No, I don't think I've ever experienced that.
That's trippy, man. Wow.
Weird.
I'm guessing you've had that, huh?
Yeah, well, I've also had that experience that he was talking about with the love, and I was going to ask him if he could describe, if you could name a color to that love, that all-encompassing love, that shedding away of all of your everything that was not healthy, sorry. What color would you make it?
I don't know.
Darryl.
You there, Darryl? I hope we didn't lose him. Why? Have you seen the color?
You see what I did?
You broke it, Dan.
Have I seen the color? Yeah, when when it happened to me, because I was doing a bunch of spiritual energy work with my friend Jerry. It was blue, man. It was completely blue. It was a blue like I've never felt a blue before, and it was like a wave after wave after wave, and it brought me to tears. There was no love like that I have ever experienced in my life, which made me completely jealous after hearing him say that he went and he experienced it 3 days in a row, because I only experienced it the one time.
Yeah, well, I'll try to get him back on here too, and
just myself
see what's going on, because I've never seen anything like that, like never, and that sounds amazing to me, man. That both of you have had that kind of experience where y'all have seen that. Are you back with us, Darryl? By any chance, for some miracle?
Come on back, Darryl.
Yeah, I don't know why it's not letting this sound come through. I wonder if he's muted. I wonder if he's muted himself, maybe. Or his microphone might have went bad on him or something. I don't know, but I'll keep trying to get him back here. But, I mean, realistically, though, if you saw something like that and you're wiping your eyes left and right, how do you deal with that? Like he's talking about coming from a place to where he realized that everything was, I mean, like kind of boring and illusory, but yet he felt that intense kind of love. I mean, to rise above that and still see that everything is of one thing and it's really all illusory, that's pretty perplexing, I would think. Right? I mean...
Yeah. I mean, if you want to allow yourself to try to get intricate into it, But if you allow it to just be, then it's a different state. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just a different paradigm for you to like adjust
you hear me?
to.
Yeah, we got you now, brother.
Yes,
awesome.
we got you.
I don't know what happened there. My mic just stopped working.
That was weird, yeah. Well, did you know what did you ask him? What were you asking him? Do you remember?
He had asked me what the color was of the love that I saw.
Yeah. What color was it?
It looked bluish white to me, if I recall. Like bluish white.
You saw it too then, huh?
Y'all heard it. Y'all heard it.
So I'm jealous of both of y'all then.
Holy crap. Holy crap.
How do you get there? How did you get there?
Yo, you blew my mind. Now I'm just super jealous that you were able to get there 2 more days in a row. I'm like, damn.
Yeah, it's just a matter of focus. And I just intended.
Matter of focus, huh?
I just intended to find the source. I talked with Albert Taylor, and he said it was his higher self. So different people have different experiences of how exactly it is. But yeah, to me, it seemed bluish white, if I recall.
Do you think when people talk about angels that's what they're talking about? Those beings of light that y'all saw, the people that have. Because, I mean, people have been talking about experiences from angels and from different religions, different mythologies, different stories. There's always these stories of these beings that have this type of power that people see, whether it's even in the physical plane sometimes. And I wonder if they're just like these balls of energy, and maybe they're just appearing to people the way you guys are talking about. But I don't know. I've never seen anything like that, actually, ever in my life. But what I do wonder about is how do you get to that point and then still realize that it's an illusion after you felt that emotion? I mean, it had to have been some very enlightening, like levels that I can't even imagine. Or maybe I'm just an emotional guy. I don't know. Because I feel like if I'd have felt that, it would have changed everything.
It's like this. I mean, if you are standing on the top of a 10-story building and you look down, that feels pretty high, right? But then if you stand on top of a 50-story building and you look down at the 10-story building, you realize now you're really high. It doesn't change the fact that from ground level, the 10-story building is still 10 stories. But it also doesn't change the fact that now you're on a 50-story building. So I would say that the experience of the source and all the out-of-body experiences I had and I mean, all the other stuff that we didn't even have time to talk about, it doesn't change the fact that those things helped me along the way. But the fact is that they're all being dreamed by the dreamer of the dream. And from that perspective, it's all just equally illusory.
Fascinating, man. So fascinating. So, and on your YouTube channel, you bring up this word like the E.T. life. Is there something about at a different density? What did you mean by that? When you say
yes, it's based upon a lot of my ET information that I don't get firsthand. Like I only had really a few contacts compared to, I mean, some people like Billy Meyer had a whole lot. I had like a handful of contacts, and I learned about him a lot from this guy named Darryl E. Berry Jr, who channels Bashar, and his lady Elisa Royal, who channels Sasha. And the way they describe it is our planet is a third density planet. It's based upon separation. Like we have government and the people, or the Illuminati and everybody else, and a lot of hate and separation based upon skin color and class and separation and dishonesty. But their society is what they call fourth density. That's the next density or the next level of thinking. So it's not necessarily a frequency of the universe, but a frequency of thought. So rather than secrecy is based upon honesty, rather than conditional love is based upon unconditional love. So it's a way of thinking that reflects the level of thinking of a lot of the advanced civilizations that visit us. For instance, they don't have governments like we have where they need people to control them to do something sensible, or they want someone to control them to have somebody to blame. They're based upon freedom. They don't practice victimhood. They practice 100% responsibility. Even if they're driving down the street and somebody rams them in the back, like Sasha used an example one time, even though the person did ram you in the back, you still take 100% responsibility for the fact that I put myself there. I chose to be there at that moment. So everybody takes responsibility for their part in everything. So it's just a different way of thinking. And so basically, in my experience, if you want to, one way of describing, I could put it, the one way of describing the type of world that we both envision, where we recognize ourselves as one people and we work together and we're aware of different dimensions and we're open and telepathic. And one way of describing that type of world is a fourth density type of world. So that's another avenue that I focus on to help change my thinking in the way to help me leave this planet. So basically my focus still is and always been ultimately the meaning of life, the purpose of existence, escape. So I'm still much too afraid to jump to enlightenment, but I'm working towards it. But in the meantime, I still work towards things that's more within my realm of fear tolerance, like fourth density, to where I could at least get to an alternate planet that's a little bit better, or get it to a different planet that's a little bit better, while I'm still working on my forgiveness and my enlightenment when I can. So that's just another avenue of growth. So, and you can say my comprehensive teaching ideology, I basically teach on three fronts. Ascension has to do with psychic powers and out-of-body travel and things like that. So if you take an out-of-body course, that's like in my Ascension school. Enlightenment has to do with undoing the unconscious guilt in our mind, undoing the ego, forgiveness. That's more pure non-dualism and A Course in Miracles. And the last one is meta-transfer. And that has to do with basically transforming ourselves from a third density being to a fourth density being, extraterrestrial contact, things like that. So enlightenment will help get you out of the dream entirely. And meta transfer and ascension will help you get to a different dimension, to where maybe you could become like a helper being in your next lifetime, or meta transfer might help you to get to a different planet. But I'm constantly trying to get myself to a place of more peace, a place of more joy and less pain, in one way or another.
It makes sense to me.
Your idea of enlightenment.
Well, no, my idea of enlightenment, I stick with the purity of that, which is undoing your unconscious guilt, undoing your ego. There's no true enlightenment other than letting go of your individual self. And you do that by completely letting go of the guilt in your mind over believing that you're separated from oneness. The fourth density, that's still part of the illusion. That would be that horizontal bar, is a bit more pleasant than third density. Maybe you could travel the universe, but it's still illusory. It's not enlightenment. And the same thing with ascension. You can go to different dimensions and exercise your higher dimensional bodies, but that's still not enlightenment, because both of those fields are still within the illusion. But I recognize that I may be able to reach a different dimension before I'm fearless enough to completely let go of my identity. So then I'll do that if I can while I'm still working. Because even the E.T.s, they're working on enlightenment as well. The beings that visited Gary Renard, the Ascended Master, they talk about how the Pleiadians are starting to reach enlightenment, and they're starting to incarnate less. So, these different extraterrestrial races, they're if you're enlightened, you're not here anymore. If you really reach a state of enlightenment, like a way that I learned to phrase it is, no one ever reaches enlightenment. And what I mean by that is, the moment before you reach enlightenment, you let go of your individual self. So there's no longer a self to be enlightened. An enlightened being has let go of their individual self. So when you reach an enlightened being, you're interacting with a being who is totally let go of their attachment to I. And the only thing that you're interacting with, per se, is the part of our mind that recognizes that the world is illusory, that recognizes that the only truth is that oneness that is beyond all perception and beyond all conception. And that's why these beings are this pure love and pure manifestation of love, even beyond the love that's coming from that source being. That's still a projection of a certain way of thinking. But I'm talking about a love even beyond that. That's coming from a mind that's projecting that. So you can see all pain that we experience within the illusion is a reflection of the part of that dreaming mind that believes it's separate. And all love that we experience is simply a reflection of that part of that dreaming mind that recognizes that the separation never occurred. So however good we experience in the universe, even if it's a source being or an angel, or however bad we experience, whether it's losing the person you love or some hellish realm, it's still a mere reflection or projection of what's going on at that dreaming level. And once you get to that level, that's when you can really make the choice to reach pure enlightenment. Everything else is just a stepping stone potentially to get there at best.
Well, thank you for explaining that. That's very, very cool. And I'm going to be thinking about this for about 3 months now, I can tell you. So we only got a couple of minutes left here. So to get an understanding, your courses on your website, they're all free, but you have an applications kind of like, do you have a limit to how many people you take with them?
Oh, well, I set it to 20 to try to make sure I have enough time to cover everybody. But I mean, if more than that signed up, I mean, I'm pretty sure I can manage it depending on, but I think the rough amount where I could feel comfortable where I give everybody due attention is about 20 at a time. But I don't really worry about it too much because in my experience, if I have like the research study I did, I think about 26 people signed up. And in the end, only like 6 people were there because, I mean, it is work. But everybody who applied themselves progressed. But again, it takes time and effort, so I don't really think. The reason why I set it for 20 is not because necessarily I don't want more than 20, but just because I want enough people to where there'll still be at least 5 people left, when a few weeks go by, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So whoever wants to join, sign up. I don't really think everybody will still be there because, just like you said,
exactly
talking about it is different from doing it.
Yeah.
It's actually work. It takes intention and being able to focus, and you have to actually make some mental effort to make it work if you really want it to work. So,
Well, listen, thanks for coming on. I mean, this was probably one of the deepest discussions I've ever had, even with you and Dan both here about astral travel. And I hope to have you back sometime because we're going to go through this and, through our Patreon group there for the video journals and stuff as we try to do this stuff together. And we're going to hopefully make your stuff a part of that too. And just
great.
Stay with what's effective. So, thanks for coming on.
Sure, welcome. It was a great being here, and I look forward to being back.
All right, you guys, we're gonna be here same time tomorrow night. We're gonna be talking about the same kind of subject, but more of lucid dreaming from a lucid dreaming aspect. And I want to thank all of you in the Fringe FM chat, and I want to thank Darryl for coming on the show, and the Reverend Dan Lopez for hanging out with us in the third hour. And please don't copy the show without written permission, especially you YouTubers. Music was by Chronox and Steezy Stevie. My main producer is Pacho, my man Pacho. And big shout out to the Fringe FM team, Jeremy Scott, Amanda, Barbara, Eric Markham, all of you guys in the Fringe FM chat. Big shout out to Don and Dennis. We'll see you guys tomorrow night. Good night.